Sir, okay.
Okay. Good morning to all. This is from Regional Center, IGNOU Regional Center, Vijayawada. I am Dr. Prasad Babu, Deputy Director, IGNOU Regional Center, Vijayawada. Already we have informed all the learners regarding counseling schedule for the MA Psychology program. Saturday, Sunday, already last week we conducted face-to-face mode. Only 2 or 3 students attended for the face-to-face mode. And Monday also we have conducted a counseling session. I think 7 or 8 candidates attended. Today is only 2 candidates out of 25 students. So this is very pathetic condition. So next classes, the attendance is poor. We will cancel the sessions because if there is no students, why should we conduct the sessions? So next time onwards, we will ask the consent for attending the sessions. Otherwise, we are unable to conduct. We are scheduling and we are asking the resource persons requesting, and a lot of work we done from our regional center side. But here attendance is very good. Anyhow, next Saturday, Sunday we have practical sessions. During that time we will discuss. Anyhow, today we have Dr. B. Ravikant. Sir is a Deputy Director, Getam University. He has done PhD in Psychology and Master's degree in MSc Psychology, and he is having Management degree also. So he has a vast experience in the field of Management and Psychology. So he has been associated with the IGNOU for last 10 years. So he has been teaching for last 10 years, 2-3 papers, lifespan psychology, research methodology, counseling, and inertial and organizational psychology. So today we have lifespan psychology. We have 4 hours time. So up to 2 o'clock. The attendance is poor. So we will conclude 1 or 1:30. So based on the your present 3 persons are there. Based on the 3% attendance, we will continue up to 1 or 1:30. In between 11:30 or 12, whatever convenient for the sir, he will take 10 to 15 minutes break, and again he will continue. Okay, sir. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation for taking the counseling session for the lifespan psychology. Moreover, this is not a teaching class. This is a counseling session. The difference between teaching and counseling is teaching means in regular face-to-face mode, they will prepare one subject and they will teach continuously and go. Here, not like that. Sir will explain all the components in briefly, not for entire syllabus for 10 days or 15 days, not like that. So we have 4 blocks. So each block sir will just explain in briefly, nutshell, not like that continuous face-to-face mode teaching. So if you have any doubts, you can raise the your doubts last 15 minutes or 10 minutes. So in between, don't disturb the sir. Sir will explain in briefly lifespan psychology, total 4 blocks. After that, if you have any doubts, you can write down on your paper. Lastly, during this session end, you can ask your queries and sir will explain. This is the information from our side. Thank you, sir. And now handing over to the sir.
Thank you, Professor Prasad Babu Garu. It's really exciting to me to associate with IGNOU every time I get a call from IGNOU. I've been associated, as sir has said, I've been associated with IGNOU since last 10 years, and it is out of my passion and that I'm actually taking sessions for IGNOU students. So I'm indebted to Prasad Babu Garu. In fact, majority of you are not aware of the fact that from Srikakulam till Vijayawada and outside, uh, not many institutions are basically offering psychology as a serious program. And with the efforts of Prasad Babu Garu, he has traveled east, west, north, south direction in order to ensure that psychology as a subject is alive in some of the educational institutions. So I really appreciate him for the kind of commitment he's showing and contributing to the field of psychology. So thank you very much, sir. And with respect to this session, yes, the attendance is very less, but in fact, I'm really happy that I can at least speak to all the attendees in person without any issues. I request, if at all it is possible, for the attendees to switch on their video so that I can see you in person, and then we can have face-to-face interaction. We
Yeah,
can discuss.
Pooja and Jagadish also, please on your cameras, and sir will interact if necessary. So very few members are there. No, you can on
Yeah.
your camera and listening.
Yeah.
If you have any urgent work or some important work, you can switch off your camera.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Jagdish Garu, Jagdish Buddha. Okay, so make yourself comfortable, Andy. Pooja Garu, Guru Rajesh, Gundla, and SB Success PET and PD Coaching. So your good name, sir? Vamsi, right? Okay, so you're on mute. Okay, so nice to see you all. Today I'm going to deliver a session on lifespan psychology. As a matter of fact, I'll make it very, very comfortable to you. You have to let me know whether I have to speak in English, plain English, simple English, or should I need to basically speak only in Telugu, whatever is comfortable to you.
English is comfortable, sir.
English is comfortable to you. Sir, VLN Gundla Garu. VLN Garu. Hello. Is it a wallpaper? No. Vamsi Garu.
Sir, good morning, sir.
English or Telugu or Tinglish?
Yes, sir, English, sir, English.
English.
Yes,
Pooja
sir.
Sudhakaran Garu.
English is comfortable.
Okay, great. Gundla Garu, VLN. Sir, మీ పేరు? సార్ మీ పేరు? ఎస్, అన్మ్యూట్ చేసుకొని మాట్లాడండి సార్. యా. ఓకే, ఫైన్. సార్ మీరు అన్మ్యూట్ చేసుకొని మాట్లాడాలి. That's okay. So we'll
Sir,
do one thing.
my name is GB Lakshminarayana, sir. Today I'm in office, sir.
Okay, fine.
Monday,
No issues.
Saturday is also working day.
No issues.
Right. Thank you, sir.
There are two. Thank you very much. Thank you for attending this particular session. Feel yourself comfortable till the end of this particular session. This is not going to be a lecture session, one-way communication. I'll make it as interesting as possible, as exciting as possible, by pouring my experience into this particular session. In fact, I'll be very glad if at all you all speak and then I listen to your perspectives, so that I can try to fine-tune your perspectives in tune with the lifespan psychology or the field of psychology. It is going to be helpful for all of us. Don't see me as a speaker or as an outside person. Understand that I am part of you, and assuming that I am part of you and then you are asking me to represent this particular session, I am going to basically discuss some important concepts that are related to field of psychology, more focused towards lifespan psychology. As Prasad Babu Garu has said, my request to you is, after the session, any point of time, my suggestion is please be in touch with Prasad Babu Garu. He has very good network in this psychology landscape. So he knows a lot of people in Delhi, Hyderabad, as well as another place in prominent places in universities as well. So you can take his guidance with respect to career development and all that. And he's so helpful. He's so kind. I know him because, when I was actually pursuing my PhD, he has guided me very well with respect to my PhD as well. So since then, I'm actually trying to get associated with him without any, other intentions and all that. Yeah. So ఇప్పుడు చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్ విషయం ఏంటంటేనండి, ఈ లైఫ్ స్పాన్ సైకాలజీ కానీ లేకపోతే అదర్ సబ్జెక్ట్స్ కానీ ఏదైతే ఇగ్నో వాళ్ళు ఆఫర్ చేస్తున్నారో, ఆన్లైన్ సెషన్స్ కానీ ఆఫ్లైన్ సెషన్స్ కానీ, దాని తాలూకా గోల్ ఏంటి అని అంటే, ఎవరైతే ఈ పర్టిక్యులర్ సైకాలజీ యాజ్ ఎ సబ్జెక్ట్‌ని కెరియర్ పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ వ్యూలో గానీ, లేపోతే వాల్యూ అడిషన్‌గా గానీ తీసుకుంటున్నారో ఆహ్, వాళ్ళందరూ కూడాను కొంతమంది డైరెక్ట్ స్టూడెంట్స్ అయ్యుండొచ్చు. లేదు అనేసనంటే ఎంప్లాయీస్ అయ్యి కూడా ఉండొచ్చు. సో, స్టూడెంట్స్ అయితే ఇట్ ఈస్ వెరీ డిఫికల్ట్ ఫర్ దెమ్ టు బేసికలీ గెట్ టు లెర్న్ ఇండివిడ్యువల్లీ ఆర్ ఇండిపెండెంట్‌లీ. వాళ్ళ మటుకు వాళ్ళు చదువుకొని అర్థం చేసుకోవడం అనేది చాలా 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 కష్టమవుతుంది. Whereas, those people who are actually working in different organizations, వాళ్ళ ఎక్స్‌పీరియన్స్‌లోని వచ్చిన కొన్ని ఇన్‌సైట్స్ ద్వారా, కొన్ని లెర్నింగ్స్ ద్వారా ఈ సైకాలజీ యాస్ ఎ సబ్జెక్ట్‌ని కొంచెం రిలేట్ చేసుకోవడానికి చాలా ఈజీ అవుతుంది. యాస్ ఎ మ్యాటర్ ఆఫ్ ఫ్యాక్ట్ ఈ సైకాలజీ కౌన్సెలింగ్ సెషన్స్ అనేవి ఇట్ ఈస్ నాట్ బేసికలీ మెంట్ ఇన్ ఆర్డర్ టు టీచ్ ద ఎంటైర్ సిలబస్ టు ఆల్ ద స్టూడెంట్స్ ఆఫ్ IGNOU. ఇట్ ఈస్ ఇంపాసిబుల్. నెక్స్ట్ టు ఇంపాసిబుల్. అందు గురించే వీటిని ఏమన్నారు అనేసంటే కౌన్సెలింగ్ సెషన్స్ అనేసి దానికోసం నామకరణ చేశారు. ఈ కౌన్సెలింగ్ సెషన్ అంటే ఏంటి అంటే ఇట్ ఈస్ అస్యూమ్డ్ దట్ మీరందరూ కూడాను మీ పర్సనల్ లైఫ్స్‌లోని, మీ ప్రొఫెషనల్ లైఫ్స్‌లోని కొంచెం టైం తీసుకొని ఈ సబ్జెక్ట్‌ని కొంచెం అవగాహన చేసుకొని, ఈ సెషన్స్‌లోనేమో మీరు ఏమైనా ఇంపార్టెంట్ పాయింట్స్ లేతే ఇన్‌సైట్స్ ఏమైనా డిస్కస్ చేస్తే, ఆ డిస్కస్ చేసే పాయింట్స్‌ని ఇంకొంచెం రిఫైన్ చేసుకొని, ఈ సబ్జెక్ట్‌కి తగ్గట్టుగాను, మీ పర్సనల్ లైఫ్, మీ ప్రొఫెషనల్ లైఫ్స్‌కి తగ్గట్టుగాను మనం మోడిఫై చేసుకోవచ్చు, అర్థం చేసుకోవచ్చు అనే ఉద్దేశంతోని ఈ IGNOU క్లాసెస్ వాళ్ళు ఈ కౌన్సెలింగ్ సెషన్స్ కండక్ట్ చేశారు. So my humble request to everybody is that please do not expect that the speaker is going to basically delve deep into the subject, explain all the concepts that are related to lifespan psychology, and he will cover the syllabus. It is next to impossible. So with that particular opening remarks, we can enter into this particular lifespan psychology. Okay, so before I commence my slides, తక్కువ మంది ఉన్నారు కాబట్టి can you please introduce yourself and make me understand what is your expertise? మీ ఏరియా ఆఫ్ ఎక్స్‌పర్టైజ్ ఏంటి? మీరు ఏ ఏరియాలో మీరు నిష్ణాతులు? And how are you contributing to this field of psychology? Or what is that you are trying to do and how is this psychology going to help you in your personal and professional life? Yeah, you can start. Yeah, please start, Andy.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yes, sir, I am Vamsi Krishna. I worked as a school assistant physical education in Prakasam district, ZPI school, CS Puram.
ఓకే. గుడ్. ఇప్పుడు మీరు ప్రకాశం డిస్ట్రిక్ట్‌లో ఉన్నారా ఏంటి?
Yes, sir. Yes,
ఓకే.
sir.
హ్మ్. ఓకే. అండ్ మీకు ఈ సైకాలజీ అనేది ఎందుకు ఇంట్రెస్ట్ పుట్టింది?
అంటే మాకు ఫిజికల్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ సార్ నాది ప్రొఫెషన్.
హ్మ్.
ఫిజికల్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్లో కూడా సైకాలజీ ఉంటుంది.
ఓకే.
ఇంకా డెప్త్గా నేర్చుకోవాలి,
హుహు.
అవగాహన చేసుకోవాలనే ఉద్దేశంతో జాయిన్ అయ్యాను.
ఓకే. ఫైన్. థాంక్ యూ.
Thank
మేడం,
you, sir.
యువర్‌సెల్ఫ్? అదర్స్ ప్లీజ్.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Myself, Pratima.
Hmm.
I am a teacher, sir. I am from Rajamandri,
ఓకే.
especially play school teacher.
ఓకే.
సో బేసిక్గా నాకు సైకాలజీ ఇష్టం, హెల్పింగ్ అదర్స్, పేరెంటింగ్లో చాలా యూజ్ అవుతుంది అని. సో చైల్డ్ సైకాలజీ మీద కాన్సన్ట్రేట్ చేయాలనుకుంటున్నాను సార్, టు హెల్ప్
గుడ్.
చిల్డ్రన్ టు ఓవర్కమ్ దేర్. ఐ ఫీల్ ఇనిషియల్ ఇయర్స్ 2 to 8 years span లో if we can identify and solve their problems, it will help them in their future life అని I believe, sir. సో మేజర్ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ అక్కడ ఐడెంటిఫై చేయగలము అని అనుకుంటున్నాను. సో
ఓకే. గుడ్. గుడ్. సో సీడ్, సాయిల్, ప్లాంట్ అనేసి ఒక చిన్న ఫిలాసఫీ ఉంది. సో విచ్ ఈస్ వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్ అనేసి అనుకుంటే వెదర్ సీడ్ ఈస్ ఇంపార్టెంట్, సాయిల్ ఈస్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ ఆర్ ద ప్లాంట్ ఈస్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ అని అనుకుంటే ఆల్ 3 ఆర్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ ఎట్ డిఫరెంట్ లెవెల్స్.
ఎస్ సార్.
But it is very important that we consider the soil to be the most important aspect so that on the fertile soil anything can be grown. Qualitatively anything can be grown. సో ఫెర్టైల్ సాయిల్లోని ద రైట్ సీడ్ కానీ వెళ్ళింది అనేసి అంటే రైట్ పర్పస్కి బయటకు వస్తుంది. ఐఎమ్ వెరీ హ్యాపీ దట్ యు ఆర్ ఫోకసింగ్ యువర్ ఎనర్జీస్ ఆన్ చిల్డ్రన్. ఇన్ఫ్యాక్ట్ ఆ చిల్డ్రన్లోనే మనం ఫోకస్ చేయడం వల్ల ఏంటి అనేసి అంటే వీఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు హ్యావ్ బెటర్ పీపుల్ ఇన్ ద సొసైటీ. So unfortunately, that is the most unaddressed issue in the society. So good that you are actually focusing on that particular area. So I'm very happy for it. Yes. మీ పేరేమన్నారు మేడం? What did you say?
Pratima.
Pratima గారు. Okay. Yeah. పూజా గారు.
Good morning, sir. I'm studying my MBA right now, and simultaneously, I am also doing the psychology as I have interested to write skills. So that as a part of my subject, I have taken the psychology as the main subject. At the same time, studying MBA, I have to know how the personalities are and how I want to become a HR. I'm reading HR so that I want to know what are the personalities are and what kind of people are going to be in an organization so that I have taken the psychology.
Sure. ఓకేనండి. థ్యాంక్ యూ పూజా గారు. ఎస్ సార్. మీరు చెప్పండి. సార్ ప్లీజ్ అన్మ్యూట్ యువర్ సెల్ఫ్.
మైక్రోఫోన్ ఆన్ చేయండి.
Sir, my name is GV Lakshmi Narayana, working as a senior assistant in AP Commercial Taxes Department. In the year 2021, I have taken training for as a public speaker and motivational speaker and soft skill trainer. In that training session, my master trainer suggested all of us that please take some knowledge, psychology knowledge is also essential. To give some good lectures and good motivational lectures and to transform lives from one stage to another stage. Psychology is one of the very important tool. So that I planned to join in psychology. In the year 2021 onwards, I was in that plan, but this year, the January session, I took admission in psychology from IGNOU.
ఓకే. గుడ్ అండి. థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్. నా రిక్వెస్ట్ ఏంటి అంటే మీరు ఐ థింక్ యు ఆర్ ఆల్సో వర్కింగ్ ఇన్ యువర్ కంపెనీ.
Yes.
సో మై సజెషన్ ఈజ్ యూ కెన్ స్విచ్ ఆఫ్ యువర్ వీడియో.
Yes.
మీరు వీడియో స్విచ్ ఆఫ్ చేసుకోండి. చేసిన తర్వాత మీరు ఒకవేళ కానీ నేను చెప్పే అంశాల్లోని మీరు ఏమైనా అర్థం చేసుకొని మీరు ఏమైనా మాట్లాడాలి అనుకుంటున్నప్పుడు యూ కెన్ స్విచ్ ఆన్ యువర్ వీడియో అండ్ దెన్ యూ కెన్ interact with us.
Yes, sir.
Is it okay? So till that time you can switch off your video and you can either listen to this or you can do your work or you can multitask. It's up to you. Okay, Randy?
Yes. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Thank
you,
you.
Andy. So thank you very much for all your brief introductions. As Prasad Babu has said, I am Dr. Ravikant. I have done my MBA program in Visakhapatnam. And after that, I traveled a lot and joined different companies, organizations, and then basing on my exposure towards people, their perspectives, philosophies, values, attitudes, and all that, I realized the fact that I need to contemplate all my energies in psychology. So, andavalla I entered into this psychology, and I've done my MSc psychology as well as PhD in psychology. So, and right now, currently, I'm in Geetham deemed to be University as Deputy Director for Career Counselling and Mentoring. So, I'm very happy that I'm a student of psychology and I'm passionate to working towards the field of psychology. So, psychology అనేది చాలా వ్యాస్ట్ సబ్జెక్ట్. దీంట్లో డిఫరెంట్ సబ్జెక్ట్స్ ఉంటాయి. సోషల్ సైకాలజీ ఉన్నది, మళ్ళీనేమో స్పోర్ట్స్ సైకాలజీ ఉన్నది, లైఫ్ స్పాన్ సైకాలజీ ఉన్నది, కౌన్సిలింగ్ సైకాలజీ ఉన్నది, పర్సనాలిటీ సైకాలజీ ఉన్నది. ఇలాగ చాలా సైకాలజీ యాజ్ ఏ సబ్జెక్ట్స్గా ఉన్నాయి, ఫ్రాగ్మెంటెడ్గా ఉన్నాయి. సో ఈ లైఫ్ స్పాన్ సైకాలజీ అనేది మీకు ఎలా బెనిఫిట్ అవుతుంది అనేసి ఎవరైనా ఎనీబడి అట్లీస్ట్ 1 or 2 persons కెన్ ఆన్సర్ దిస్ క్వశ్చన్. హౌ దిస్ లైఫ్ స్పాన్ సైకాలజీ ఇస్ గోయింగ్ టు హెల్ప్ యూ? బికాజ్ ఒకసారి లైఫ్ స్పాన్ సైకాలజీ కానీ మీరు బుక్ ఓపెన్ చేసి దాంట్లో చూస్తే చాలా మటుకు కాన్సెప్ట్స్ అన్ని యానటామికల్గా ఉంటాయి. సంథింగ్ దట్ ఈస్ రిలేటెడ్ టు అవర్ physical body, cognitive process, as well as social life. వీటన్నిటిలో predominant గా ఏంటి అంటే it is more towards the physical aspects of the personality గా కనిపించవచ్చు. సో ఓవరాల్ గా మీ వ్యూ ఏంటి, లైఫ్ స్పాన్ సైకాలజీ అనేది లేకపోతే లైఫ్ స్పాన్ డెవలప్మెంట్ అనేది మీకు ఎలా ఉపయోగపడుతుంది అని మీరు ఏమైనా ఒక అభిప్రాయంలో ఉన్నారా? యాజ్ అ సబ్జెక్ట్ కింద కాకుండా, వెదర్ ఈజ్ ఇట్ సంథింగ్ దట్ ఈస్ వెరీ వెరీ ఇంట్రెస్టింగ్, ఆర్ will it basically help you in with respect to your personal life or professional lives? Can somebody answer this? How this lifespan psychology is going to help you out? Anybody? How this lifespan psychology is going to help you? Okay, so if you are unable to answer this, I'll just let you understand the fact that lifespan psychology అనేది ఎక్కడ నుంచి స్టార్ట్ అవుతుందంటే from the time of birth, and it will basically follow through till the time we leave our body. So from the time of birth till we leave our body, there are important stages of life. అది చైల్డ్హుడ్ నుంచి మళ్ళీ ఓల్డ్ ఏజ్ వరకు డిఫరెంట్ స్టేజెస్ ఆఫ్ లైఫ్లో ఉంటుంది మనకి. ఈ డిఫరెంట్ స్టేజెస్ ఆఫ్ లైఫ్లోని ఈచ్ స్టేజ్ ఆఫ్ లైఫ్ హౌ ఇట్ ఈస్ గోయింగ్ టు ఇన్ఫ్లుయెన్స్ అవర్ పర్సనాలిటీ, how it is going to influence our thought process, how it is going to influence our environment, how environment is actually going to influence us. ఈ ఆస్పెక్ట్స్ అన్ని డిఫరెంట్ స్టేజెస్ ఆఫ్ లైఫ్లో మనకి అర్థం అవుతుంది. ఈ లైఫ్ స్పాన్ సైకాలజీ అనేది నా ఉద్దేశం ప్రకారంగా ఇట్ ఈస్ ఎ మ్యాండేటరీ కోర్స్ దట్ నీడ్స్ టు బీ ఆఫర్డ్ అక్రాస్ ఆల్ ద డిసిప్లిన్స్. అది ఒకవేళ కానీ బీటెక్ అయినా, ఎంటెక్ అయినా, లేకపోతే ఎంఎస్సి అయినా, బిఎస్సి అయినా, బీబీఏ అయినా, లేకపోతే ఇంటర్మీడియట్ అయినా, ఇన్ ఆల్ దీస్ స్కూల్స్ ఇట్ హ్యాస్ టు బీ టాట్. ఎందువల్ల మనం తెలుసుకోవాలి అనే విషయం నేను ఫర్దర్ స్లైడ్స్లో మీకు బాగా అర్థమవుతుంది. అందువల్ల ఈ లైఫ్ స్పాన్ సైకాలజీ అనేది లేకపోతే లైఫ్ స్పాన్ డెవలప్మెంట్ అనేది కానీ మీరు అర్థం చేసుకుంటే యూ విల్ హ్యావ్ అన్ అండర్స్టాండింగ్ అబౌట్ హూ యూ ఆర్, not only in relation to the outside world, but most importantly in relation to yourself. So, and then you will have more control of your personal life, you will have more control of your professional life, you will also have more control of your social life also. Din talka importance antunnadi. So, hence this lifespan psychology plays an important role for all of us. So, నేను ఏం చేస్తానంటే ఇప్పుడు I will basically share the screen so that I can start this particular session. Is it visible to everybody? Is it visible? Hello?
Yes, sir.
It is
Yes, sir.
visible?
It is visible, sir.
Excellent. So shall I maximize this? ఇది ఇప్పుడు బాగుందండి?
Sufficient, sir. It is visible.
Excellent, excellent.
Okay, sir. Visible.
Okay. So we are going to deal this particular subject today till 2 o'clock, and it all depends on the interest of the people also. So we will see how I can take the interest levels to the maximum level. If you can read this particular poem, it really makes sense about what we are going to speak for the next couple of hours. This poem is actually written by William Wordsworth. I don't know how many of you are aware. He's a great poet, and he has written wonderful what is this called as poems in his life. So this is one of the short poems that he has written about a person. So it goes like this: my heart leaps up when I behold a rainbow in the sky. So was it when my life began, so is it now I am a man. So be it when I shall grow old, or let me die. The child is father of the man, and I could wish my days to be bound each to each by natural pity. So ఈ పర్టికులర్ పోయంని మీరు చాలా జాగ్రత్తగా అర్థం చేసుకుంటే there are lot of important points that we can really discuss. One second thing is lot of psychologists after reading this particular poem they came out with very good theories also. అంటే ఒక పోయెట్ నుంచి చాలా మంది రీసెర్చ్ చేసి ఒక పోయం నుంచి చాలా మంది రీసెర్చ్ చేసి డిఫరెంట్ థియరీస్ని కూడా బిల్డ్ చేశారు అన్న దాంట్లో అతిశయోక్తి కూడా లేదు. అలా జరిగాయి కూడా. I can basically explain to you all those things right away. So just once again read it. My heart leaps up when I behold a rainbow in the sky. So was it when my life began. So is it now I am a man. So be it when I shall grow old or let me die. The child is father of the man. And I could wish my days to be bound each to each by natural pity. ఇక్కడ చాలా ఫేమస్ ఫ్రేజ్ ఒకటి ఉన్నది ద చైల్డ్ ఈస్ ఫాదర్ ఆఫ్ ద మ్యాన్ అనేసి. సో మై రిక్వెస్ట్ రైట్ నౌ టు యూ ఈస్ కెన్ యూ ప్లీజ్ టెల్ మీ what you understand by this, or what is your opinion with respect to this particular poem? Can you answer this? Yep, please. Did you understand that particular poem, everybody?
Yes, sir, we understood. Can you share the screen again, sir?
Sure. Is this okay now? Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
So what I understood is, sir,
Yeah.
So my heart leaps up when I behold a rainbow in the sky. So when his life began, he should feel the happiness even when he is a man, and when he gets old, that happiness should be there in all stages of life, or that fulfillment.
Okay. ఇంకా yes. Others, can you please try? A rainbow in the sky, so was it when my life began, so is it now I am a man. So be it when I shall grow old, or let me die, the child is father of the man, and I could wish my days to be bound each to each by natural pity. సో ఇక్కడ 3 స్టేజెస్ ఆఫ్ లైఫ్ గా కనపడుతున్నది ఒకసారి అబ్జర్వ్ చేశారో లేదో మీరు.
Yes.
If at all you have seen 3 stages of life.
Yes.
And the poet who is actually trying to he's actually trying to bring out his thoughts over here. ఆ థాట్స్ ఏంటి అనేసరంటే childhood days will have a profound impact on later years of life. That is what he is trying to indicate. Now, there are a lot of theories regarding that from Sigmund Freud and later part of the theories. There are a lot of debates that are happening whether the earlier part of life is the only determinant for later part of development of a personality or not. Or if at all there are some issues with respect to earlier aspects of life, can that be changed by the environment or not? Should we need to depend on our life only because of our past, or can we try to manipulate our present because of our positioning in the system, in the social life? And despite what has happened in the past, can we try to change the present to a desirable future? So hence, it is important that we try to consider both the aspects, not only the past, but also the future. And in the past and between the past and future, the present plays an important role in trying to balance both the past issues and the future challenges. So ఇక్కడ ఇంకొక ఇంపార్టెంట్ పాయింట్ నేను మెన్షన్ చేశాను. అదేంటి అంటే, ఈ పర్టిక్యులర్ పోయెమ్ ద్వారాను చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్ థియరీస్ కూడా వచ్చాయి అనేసి ఒక విషయం చెప్పాను. దాంట్లో మీరు ఒకసారి ఒక ఫ్రేజ్ అబ్జర్వ్ చేస్తే దాంట్లో క్లియర్‌గా ఏమని మెన్షన్ చేసిందంటే, ద చైల్డ్ ఈస్ ద ఫాదర్ ఆఫ్ ఎ మ్యాన్ అనేసున్నది. ఇక్కడ చైల్డ్ అనేది ఒకటి తీసుకోండి. ఫాదర్ అనేది ఒకటి తీసుకోండి. మ్యాన్ అనేది ఇంకొకటి తీసుకోండి. ఈ 3 ఇంపార్టెంట్ పాయింట్స్ తీసుకోండి. ఓకే. చైల్డ్, ఫాదర్, మ్యాన్. ఈ చైల్డ్, ఫాదర్, మ్యాన్ ద్వారాను దేర్ ఈస్ అన్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ work that is actually done by a person called as Eric Berne. Ericberne, Eric Berne. So he has written a wonderful book called as Transactional Analysis. He has written a wonderful book called as Transactional Analysis. So in transaction analysis, what he says that every personality has three important facets or dominating elements. One is the parental ego state. Second one is the adult ego state. The third one is the child ego state. ఇది చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్ మీ పర్సనల్ లైఫ్‌లోని, మీ ప్రొఫెషనల్ లైఫ్‌లో చాలా బాగా ఉపయోగపడుతుంది. హెన్స్ ఐ యామ్ జస్ట్ ట్రైయింగ్ టు బ్రింగ్ ఔట్ దిస్ పర్టిక్యులర్ ఇష్యూ టు ఆల్ ఆఫ్ యూ. సో I am just trying to discuss about an important concept that is related to lifespan development. When I am trying to discuss about lifespan development, I introduce the concept of Wordsworth, what he wants to actually convey through his poem. He says in his poem, the child is the father of a man. And I am trying to describe as to how a child is actually the father of a man. And trying to bring out new theories that are related to this particular philosophy called as the child is the father of a man. So Eric Berne transactional analysis loni, he brought out an issue that every personality has three important dominating elements, which are called as parental ego state, adult ego state, and child ego state. Parental ego state ante enti anisante, we all pretty well know that when we are enjoying our childhood, or during our childhood, we are being influenced, or we have been influenced by our parents or the dominating personalities at home. సో ఆ డామినేటింగ్ పర్సనాలిటీస్ తలక మేనరిజమ్స్ కానీ, లేకపోతే వాళ్ళ తలక డైలాగ్స్ కానీ, లేకపోతే వాళ్ళ తలక ప్రిపోజిషన్స్ కానీ, ఇవన్నీ కూడాను మన మైండ్ మీద చాలా ఇన్ఫ్లుయెన్స్ చేయబడ్డాయి. ఎప్పుడైతే మన ఇన్ఫ్లుయెన్స్ చేయబడ్డాయో అవన్నీ కూడా వీ హ్యావ్ కన్స్యూమ్డ్ ఇట్, వీ హ్యావ్ టేకెన్ ఇట్, దే శాంక్ ఇన్ టు అవర్ మైండ్ సెట్. మన మైండ్ సెట్లో అవన్నీ కూడాను ఎంబెడ్ అయి ఉన్నాయి. సో దే విల్ నాట్ లీవ్ సో ఈజీలీ, దేర్ ఆల్ దేర్ ఇన్ అస్. సో చైల్డ్‌హుడ్‌లోని పేరెంటల్ యొక్క డామినేషన్స్ గానీ, డిమాండ్స్ గానీ, కమాండ్స్ గానీ, ఇన్‌ఫ్లుయెన్సెస్ గానీ, పవర్ గానీ, ఇవన్నీ కూడా మనం మన మైండ్‌లోని సింక్ చేసి ఉంచుకున్నాం. ఇదే కాకుండాను ఒక పర్సనాలిటీలోని ఇంకొక డామినేటింగ్ ఎలిమెంట్ ఏంటి అంటే అడల్ట్ ఇగో స్టేట్ అనేసి నేను చెప్తున్నాను. ఈ అడల్ట్ ఇగో స్టేట్ ఏం చెప్తుంది అనేసనంటే, ఎవ్రీ ఇండివిడ్యువల్ హ్యాస్ ఎ రేషనల్ బేసిస్ ఆఫ్ థింకింగ్ అని చెప్తుంది. Whenever we speak officially at our office lounges or at our office environment, we generally don't speak at a parental level, but we generally speak at a rational level. మనం చాలా కన్విన్సింగ్‌గా మాట్లాడతాం, లాజికల్‌గా మాట్లాడతాం, క్రియేటివ్‌గా మాట్లాడతాం. మనం ఒక మెథాడికల్‌గా మాట్లాడతాం మనం. సో దాని అర్థం ఏంటి అనేసనంటే, దిస్ రేషనల్ వే ఆఫ్ bringing about ourselves is also one of the dominant features of our personality. So the adult ego state is more inclined towards a rational side of our life. When I say rational, there is another word called as irrational. The opposite of rational is irrational. Let's take an example. Rational thoughts antam, irrational thoughts antam. So what is an example of a rational thought? What is an example of an irrational thought? So that you will understand what is this rational personality who is there in us. ఒక rational thought చెప్పండి, ఒక irrational thought చెప్పండి. Can you give me a rational thought in our everyday life? Can you give me an irrational thought that happens in our everyday life? What is a rational thought? What is an irrational thought?
Sir, when a child complains his friend or her friend is beating or is troubling me, we say, go and speak to your teacher. This is a rational thought.
Very
And
good.
few people will say, if he is beating you, you can also beat him. That is irrational, I feel.
Very good. So it is a rational approach and irrational approach. Very good. Good. So what is a rational థాట్ అంటే మనలో ఇప్పుడు ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ మనం ఫ్యామిలీ మెంబర్స్తో గడుపుతూ ఉంటాము. ఫ్యామిలీ మెంబర్స్తో కమ్యూనికేషన్ డైనమిక్స్ జరుగుతూ ఉంటుంది. మళ్ళీ ఆఫీస్ ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్లో ఉంటాం. ఆఫీస్ ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ మధ్యలోని డిఫరెంట్ పీపుల్తోని కమ్యూనికేషన్ డైనమిక్స్ జరుగుతూ ఉంటుంది. ఓకే. సొసైటీలో ఉంటాము. వాళ్ళతో డైనమిక్స్ జరుగుతూ ఉంటుంది. ఆ డైనమిక్స్ జరుగుతున్న సందర్భంలోని కొన్ని రేషనల్ థాట్స్ వస్తూ ఉంటాయి. కొన్ని ఇర్రేషనల్ థాట్స్ వస్తూ ఉంటాయి. సో కెన్ యూ గివ్ ఎనీ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఆఫ్ ఎ రేషనల్ థాట్ ఇన్ ద హోమ్, at office, by ourselves, by relating an example to ourselves? I'll just give an example to be present, to make it more relevant to this particular context. So a session that I expected is that more number of students will join, and there are more number of coordinators over here than students. సో దీన్ని బట్టి ఇమీడియట్లీ ఒక థాట్ ఏంటి రావచ్చు అనేసరంటే, సో దెర్ ఈస్ నో పాయింట్ ఇన్ బేసికలీ బ్రింగింగ్ అవుట్ ఆల్ మై ఎక్స్పర్టైజ్, ఆల్ మై ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ టు దిస్ పర్టికులర్ కోహాట్. సో ఎందువల్లంటే తక్కువ మంది ఉన్నారు కాబట్టి at a surface level I can basically manage this particular session and then I can leave it because it doesn't make any meaning అనేసి అనుకోవచ్చు. So this is an irrational thought. It is an irrational thought. So the rational thought is whether it is one person or many person, I need to deliver one subject. So the goal for me is not to basically have that quantification in my mind, but qualitatively how much impact I am actually creating in the minds of the people, whoever are there. So this is a rational approach or rational thought. So this, if at all we don't go by rational thought and if I go by irrational thought, the consequences are actually are based on the irrational thoughts only. నా ద్వారా ఏమైనా యాక్షన్ జరిగింది అనేసరంటే యాక్షన్కి ముందు ఏంటి అనేసంటే ఒక థాట్ అనేది ఇట్ ఈస్ యాక్చువల్లీ ట్రైంగ్ టు ఇన్స్టిగేట్ ఆర్ ప్రొవోక్ వన్ పర్టికులర్ యాక్షన్ ఆర్ ఎ బిహేవియర్. సో థాట్ అనేది ఒక ఇంపార్టెంట్ ఫండమెంటల్ యూనిట్ ఆఫ్ ఎ పర్సన్ డైనమిక్స్ అని అనుకుంటే, ఆ థాట్ని మనం కానీ అర్థం చేసుకోకపోతే దెన్ ప్రతిసారి కూడా మన దగ్గర నుంచి వచ్చే బిహేవియర్స్ కానీ ఆ బిహేవియర్స్ నుంచి వచ్చే కాన్సిక్వెన్సెస్ని కానీ మనం ఎట్ ద ఫేస్ ఆఫ్ ఇట్ కానీ మనం మెజర్ చేసి పీపుల్ మీద, ప్రాసెసెస్ మీద, సిస్టమ్స్ మీద మనం ఒకవేళ అట్రిబ్యూట్ చేస్తే దెన్ వీ విల్ నెవర్ థింక్ దట్ వీఆర్ రాంగ్. వీ విల్ ఆల్వేస్ థింక్ దట్ ఎవ్రీబడి outside is wrong and we are never wrong. So it is important that we should every time understand whether I have positioned it perfectly or not, or did I ensure that there is no noise in my communication when I am bringing my thoughts outside. I may be very clear inside me, but when I am trying to bring out some thoughts, it is essential that I am bringing out the thoughts in the way I have understood it, in the way the other person understands the way I understood it. So that is the reason it is essential that we understand the nuances of all these thought processes. So let us come back to this particular concept called as rational thinking and irrational thinking. So when I mentioned that a person has three important ego states, one is parental ego state, second one is adult ego state, the third one is child ego state. The adult ego state is more towards the rational side of his life, or rational approaches by him to himself as to the people outside. సో ఒక పర్సనాలిటీలోని ఎక్కువ శాతం అనేది రేషనాలిటీ ఉన్నది అనేసరంటే దెన్ దట్ పర్టికులర్ పర్సన్స్ తనక సైకలాజికల్ లైఫ్ కానీ లేకపోతే ఫిజికల్ లైఫ్ కానీ ఒక హెల్దీగా వెళ్ళే అవకాశాలు చాలా ఎక్కువగా ఉంటాయి. బికాస్ everything he is actually seeing in a rational manner. Okay, the last one is the child ego state. Child ego state, if at all we try to reflect our childhood experiences, then every time we used to basically be in the pleasure principle mode. Sigmund Freud చెప్తున్నట్లు we used to be in pleasure principle mode. ఈ సెన్సరీ ఆర్గన్స్ని కంఫర్టబుల్ జోన్లో ఉండే విధంగాను వీ యూస్ టు బేసికలీ టేక్ డెసిషన్స్ ఆర్ వీ యూస్ టు బేసికలీ లివ్ అవర్ లైఫ్స్. Because as a child, every time he or she wants to basically enjoy the pleasure and avoid the pain. సో ఎక్కువ ప్లెజర్లో ఉండాలనుకుంటాడు, పెయిన్లో ఉండదలుచుకోలేదు. అందువల్ల ఒక పర్సనాలిటీలోని ఈ 3 డైనమిక్స్ ఆర్ ఆపరేటింగ్ simultaneously as well. So sometimes in a person, the parental demands, the influences, the domination, the power, ఇవన్నీ కూడా ఒక పక్క నుంచి if they are acting, on the other side, the rational side of it, the logic side of the methodical side of it, the creative side of it is also acting. On the other side, the child ego state is also trying to downplay the parental ego state and then the adult ego state. సో ఒకవేళ ఒక పర్సనాలిటీలోని 3 ఆస్పెక్ట్స్ అనేవి జరుగుతూ ఉంటే హౌ డు వి బేసికలీ హ్యావ్ ఏ కంట్రోల్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ దీస్ 3 థింగ్స్ అనేది చాలా చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్. అంటే ఇప్పుడు దీని ఎలా అర్థం చేసుకోవాలి అంటే, ఇప్పుడు లక్కీగా మనం ఇది విషయం తెలుసుకున్నాం కాబట్టి మనం వీ విల్ ట్రై టు అనలైజ్ అవర్ సెల్ఫ్ ఆర్ రిఫ్లెక్ట్ అవర్ సెల్ఫ్ అట్ దిస్ పర్టికులర్ పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ టైం నా ఏ ఈగో స్టేట్ అనేది డామినేటింగ్గా ఉన్నదనే విషయం మనం తెలుసుకుంటాం. ఒకవేళ కానీ ఈ కాన్సెప్ట్ మనం తెలుసుకోకపోతే మన వైపు నుంచి మనం బిహేవియర్స్ కానీ యాక్షన్స్ కానీ వెళ్ళిపోతూ ఉంటే వీ మే నాట్ బి ఏబుల్ టు సెగ్రిగేట్ వాట్ ఈస్ హ్యాపెనింగ్ ఇన్సైడ్ అస్, వై పీపుల్ ఆర్ యాక్చువల్లీ ఫీలింగ్ బ్యాడ్ అబౌట్ అస్. ఈజ్ ఇట్ బికాస్ ఆఫ్ మీ ఆర్ ఈజ్ ఇట్ బికాస్ ఆఫ్ ద ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ ఆర్ ఈజ్ ఇట్ బికాస్ ఆఫ్ ద పీపుల్ అరౌండ్ మీ? సో దేనికి అట్రిబ్యూట్ చేయాలో మనకు తెలియదు, దేని వల్ల జరుగుతున్నదో మనకు తెలియదు. అందువల్ల ఇట్ ఈస్ ఎసెన్షియల్ దట్ వీ ట్రై టు అండర్స్టాండ్ the intricacies that are happening inside us, the dominating forces that are actually trying to push us to the edges, and how we are trying to manage all these forces and then trying to maintain that homeostasis or equilibrium anamata. So అందువల్ల the child is a father of a man అంటున్న సందర్భంలోని ఈ ఎరిక్ బర్న్ అనే పర్సన్ ఈ 3 పర్సనాలిటీ ఈ ఈగో స్టేట్స్, ఈ 3 ఈగో స్టేట్స్ ని ఒక పర్సనాలిటీలోని ఐడెంటిఫై చేసి తను చెప్పింది ఏంటి అంటే, ఎవ్రీ ఇండివిజువల్ ఈజ్ ఇంటరాక్టింగ్ విత్ దేర్ ఓన్ ఈగో స్టేట్స్ విత్ అదర్స్. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, ఇఫ్ ఐఎమ్ ఇంటరాక్టింగ్ విత్ యూ, మై అడల్ట్ ఈగో స్టేట్ might be trying to convince your adult ego state. If I am trying to basically show my power in this particular session, then probably you can witness that my parental ego state is trying to dominate this particular session. సో నేను కోపం పడిపోయి, నేను చికాకు పడిపోయి, లేదు అంటే నేను కొంచెం డిక్టేటోరియల్గా ఉండి, మీరు ఇది ఎందుకు నేర్చుకోలేదు, యూ హ్యావ్ గ్రోన్ ఓల్డ్, బట్ వై ఇస్ దట్ యూ డు నాట్ నో దిస్ సింపుల్ ఫ్యాక్ట్ ఆల్సో అని నేను కొంచెం ప్రెషర్ నేను క్రియేట్ చేసి మిమ్మల్ని డిస్కంఫర్ట్లో పెట్టడం వల్ల యూ మే ట్రై టు ఫీల్ దట్ మై parental ego state is more dominant at this juncture. And if I'm trying to cut jokes, if I'm trying to make some fun in this particular session, then you may also witness that in this particular personality, the child ego state is actually predominant. సో ఈ 3 ఈగో స్టేట్స్ని మనం బ్యాలెన్స్ చేసుకొని ఏ ఈగో స్టేట్ ఎక్కడ అవసరం ఉంటుంది అనేది మనం అర్థం చేసుకొని దాని ప్రకారంగా మన లైఫ్ని మనం లీడ్ చేస్తూ ఉంటే దెన్ ప్రాబబ్లీ ఒక హార్మోనీ అనేది క్రియేట్ అవ్వడానికి అవకాశం ఉన్నది. సో వెన్ ఐఎమ్ ఇంటరాక్టింగ్ విత్ యూ ఫ్రమ్ ఏ అడల్ట్ ఈగో స్టేట్, the communication or the relationship or the dynamics will be more healthy if at all your adult ego state is also in tandem with my adult ego state. But if my adult ego state is trying to address your parental ego state, or if my adult ego state is trying to basically provoke your child ego state, then the child ego state or the parental ego state that you have, because it is not in synchronization with my ego state, there is what is this called as dichotomy, or there is a conflict, there is a division. So there is no tangent that is made possible. Hence initial resistance will definitely take place. ఆ రెసిస్టెన్స్ ని మళ్ళీ నార్మల్ సీట్ లోకి తీసుకురావాలి అనేసరంటే then the person has to basically either go to the parental ego state of the other person or come down to the child ego state of the person, be at that particular level, interact with that particular level, and raise that particular student to the next ego state. సో అందువల్ల ఏంటవుతుంది అనేసనంటే మనం పిల్లలతోని మనం ఏమైనా మాట్లాడుతున్న సందర్భంలోని మన పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ వ్యూలో మనం మాట్లాడే కన్నాను తను ఏ ఈగో స్టేట్‌లో ఉన్నాడు, తన మైండ్ సెట్ ఎలా ఉన్నది అని తెలుసుకొని వాళ్ళ స్టేట్ ఆఫ్ మైండ్‌లోకి వెళ్ళి అక్కడి నుంచి వాళ్ళని డిజైర్డ్ స్టేట్ ఆఫ్ మైండ్‌లోకి తీసుకెళ్ళడం అనేది ఇట్ ఈస్ ఏ వెరీ గుడ్ కోర్స్ ఆఫ్ యాక్షన్. మనం ఏది చెప్పినా కూడాను అది రైట్ అని మనకు అనిపించొచ్చేమో గానీ, వీ డు నాట్ నో ద థాట్ ప్రాసెస్ ఆర్ ద థాట్ స్ట్రక్చర్ ఆఫ్ ద చైల్డ్ ఆర్ ద పేరెంట్. సో, ఇట్ ఈస్ ఎసెన్షియల్ దట్ వి ట్రై టు అండర్‌స్టాండ్ దెమ్. అయితే అన్ని టైంలోని ఇది సాధ్యం కాకపోవచ్చు. బికాస్ ద స్పీకర్ హూఎవర్ ఈస్ యాక్చువల్లీ సేయింగ్ దట్ ఇన్ ఆర్డర్ టు హావ్ ఎ హార్మోనియస్ రిలేషన్‌షిప్ బిట్వీన్ పీపుల్, వీ హావ్ టు అండర్‌స్టాండ్ అదర్ పీపుల్స్ మైండ్ సెట్ అనుకుంటున్నప్పుడు ద స్పీకర్ ఈస్ ఆల్సో వల్నరబుల్ టు his own issues. The speaker is also vulnerable to the people around him. So the speaker has his own limitations. He is not the superman with respect to having harmonious relationship everywhere he is. So the goal enti anisante every time if at all there is any conflict that is happening between me and outside world, me and people around me, then there is important aspect that I need to reflect on these particular conflicts and see how I can basically minimize the conflicts by modifying my own thought processes. Sometimes what happens is we may not be able to change the people around us. అలాంటి సందర్భంలోని షుడ్ ఐ నీడ్ టు బి మోర్ వల్నరబుల్ టు ద సిచ్యువేషన్, సర్కమ్స్టాన్సెస్, పీపుల్ అరౌండ్ అస్ అనేసనంటే ఎస్ వీ మే నాట్ హ్యావ్ ఎనీ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ స్కోప్ ఆర్ పవర్ ఆర్ ఎనీ చాయిస్ బట్ టు యాక్సెప్ట్ పీపుల్ యాజ్ దే ఆర్. అలాంటి సందర్భంలోని ఇఫ్ వీఆర్ ఏబుల్ టు బేసికలీ change our mind and reduce the burden of conflict within us, then the damage will also be reduced to be a reasonable extent. I'm not saying the problem will be resolved. By the end of the day, we have to understand the fact that psychology always tries to stress the fact that people differ from each other. So when people differ from each other after every experiment that we do, we should not expect that everybody has to basically follow the way we basically expect. It is essential that how we reflect or how we basically react, how we basically respond to what is happening inside us and outside us is essential in order to reduce the conflict within us. By the end of the day, my physical well-being and psychological well-being is more important. That will have a greater impact on the people who are actually looking at me, or on the people who are actually waiting for me, on the people who are actually dependent on me. So that is the reason this particular concept called as a lifespan psychology has an important role to play in each and every person's life. Okay? Yeah. We'll go to the next slide. Yeah, just respond. Can you see the slide? Can you see the slide?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So please read this. This is one of the famous cases, historical event that has taken place, and because of this man, thousands of psychologists have done innumerable research in the area of cognitive psychology. So at a glance, in 1848, Phineas Gage had a workplace accident in which an iron tamping rod entered and exited his skull. He survived, but it is said that his personality changed as a result, leading to a greater understanding of the brain regions involved in personality, namely the frontal lobe. Chala important case idi. Tarvata, whenever you are free, my request to you is please read this particular case in detail, either in YouTube or in internet. ఈ ఫీనియస్ గేజ్ అనే పర్సన్ ఏంటి అంటే ఒక వర్క్ ప్లేస్లోని హీ మెట్ విత్ అన్ యాక్సిడెంట్. ఏదైతే ఆపరేట్ చేస్తున్న ఐరన్ ట్యాంపింగ్ రాడ్, అది ఏమైందంటే బికాస్ ఆఫ్ సమ్ యాక్సిడెంట్ ఇట్ హ్యాస్ పియర్స్డ్ ఇన్ టు హిస్ స్కల్. ఆ స్కల్లోని పియర్స్ అయిన తర్వాత హీ స్టిల్ అలైవ్ ఎట్ దట్ పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ టైమ్. నథింగ్ మేజర్ హ్యాస్ హ్యాపెండ్ ఎట్ దట్ పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ టైమ్. హీ ఈస్ వెరీ కాన్షియస్ అబౌట్ ఇట్. So then he was taken to nearby hospital, and then surgery was actually conducted. Surgery conduct చేసిన తర్వాత then there was a lot of interesting insights about this particular case. Interesting insight ఏంటి అంటే this Phineas Cage, when he joined that particular work, he is very very innocent, he is very very meek, he is very very timid, he is very very shy, and he is very very soft. Okay, he never used to interact with lot of people. బట్ ఎప్పుడైతే యాక్సిడెంట్ జరిగిన తర్వాత వెన్ హీ రికవర్డ్ అండ్ దెన్ హీ కేమ్ బ్యాక్ టు హిస్ వర్క్ ప్లేస్, దెన్ పీపుల్ హూ ఎవర్ ఆర్ యాక్చువల్లీ వర్కింగ్ అలాంగ్ విత్ ఫీనియస్ కేజ్, they realized the fact that he's no more Phineas Cage. He's an altogether different personality. So what could be the reason behind it? So we are actually talking about lifespan psychology or lifespan development. In lifespan development loni, there are some important dimensions that we are going to go through in this particular day. One is the physical side of our personality. The physical side of our personality loni, the most important is, you know, the chemistry or the structure of the brain that is there inside us, which is trying to influence our decision making, influence our thought processes, influence our behaviors. సో టోటల్ బాడీని మనం కానీ ఒకసారి అబ్జర్వ్ చేసుకున్నాం అనేసి అంటే ఈ బ్రెయిన్ అనేది ఇట్ ఈస్ ద సెంట్రల్ ప్రాసెసింగ్ యూనిట్. ఈ సెంట్రల్ ప్రాసెసింగ్ యూనిట్ని మనం ఎక్కువ అర్థం చేసుకోగలిగితే దెన్ ద ఎంటైర్ బాడీ తలక ఇంపార్టెన్స్ కానీ, ఈ బాడీ తలక కాన్సిక్వెన్సెస్ కానీ, బాడీ తలక బిహేవియర్స్ కానీ బ్రెయిన్ ద్వారా మనం అర్థం చేసుకోవడానికి చాలా ఈజీ అవుతుంది. సో ఈ ఫీనియస్ గేజ్ తన యాక్సిడెంట్ వల్ల ఆ రాడ్, ఐరన్ రాడ్ అనేది స్కల్ లోపలికేమో వెళ్ళి సర్జరీ తర్వాత వై ఈజ్ దట్ హీ ఈజ్ నాట్ నార్మల్ అంటే దానికి ఆన్సర్ ఏంటి అంటే దెర్ ఆర్ సర్టన్ పార్ట్స్ ఆఫ్ ద బ్రెయిన్ విచ్ ఆర్ ట్రైయింగ్ టు డిఫైన్ some important aspects of the personality. So one of the important aspects of the personality that is part of the brain is the aggression controlling behaviors or the homeostasis, the balancing controlling behaviors of the human behavior. So a brain loki iron rod veldam valla there is a damage that has caused to the frontal cortex. దానివల్ల ఆ టిష్యూస్ డ్యామేజ్ అయ్యి అది ఇర్రిపేరబుల్ అయిపోవడం వల్ల whatever he is not, he became that. So he was very soft, he became very rude, he was very very aggressive. So this is because some part of the brain is more responsible to balance the aggressive behaviors, but unfortunately that particular part of the brain is unable to balance the aggressive behavior, which means that the organ that is necessary for to regulate the behaviors or the emotions is absent, is damaged, permanently damaged. సో దాని అర్థం ఏంటి అనేసరంటే దీన్ని బట్టి మనం విజ్డమ్ ఏం తెలుసుకోవచ్చు అనేసరంటే వాట్ ఆర్ ద ఫుడ్స్ దట్ ఆర్ యాక్చువల్లీ creating an impact on the part of the brain that is necessary for us to basically have a healthy emotions, healthy problem solving, healthy decision making, healthy regulators. ఇవన్నీ కూడా మనం అర్థం చేసుకోవాలి. చాలా 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 ఇంపార్టెంట్. I'll just give you a small understanding about the anatomy of the brain. మీకు ఈజీగా అర్థం అవుతుంది. అదేంటి అనేసనంటే మనం ఇది ఫోర్ హెడ్ అంటున్నాం కదా, ఈ ఫోర్ హెడ్ వెనకాతల దెర్ ఈస్ సంథింగ్ కాల్డ్ అస్ ప్రీ ఫ్రాంటల్ కార్టెక్స్ అనేసి ఒకటి ఉంటుంది. ఇట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ అస్ ప్రీ ఫ్రాంటల్ కార్టెక్స్. ఈ ప్రీ ఫ్రాంటల్ కార్టెక్స్ అనేది చైల్డ్హుడ్ లోని ఇట్ విల్ స్టార్ట్ డెవలపింగ్. Prefrontal cortex starts during the childhood. It will start developing during the childhood. But what time it will basically grow to its maturity and till the age of 24 years in an individual, the prefrontal cortex will not be developed. So what is this prefrontal cortex significance? A prefrontal cortex significance empty and a prefrontal cortex is essential for an individual to solve the problems rationally, to make the decisions effectively and efficiently. ఇది చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్. ఈ ప్రీఫ్రాంటల్ కార్టెక్స్ ఎక్కడ ఉంటుంది అంటే ఈ నుదుటి వెనకాతల భాగంలో ఉంటుంది. సో అందువల్ల ఈ పర్టికులర్ భాగానికి అంత శాంక్టిటీ, అంత సేక్రెడ్నెస్ అనేది ఉన్నది. అందు గురించే కొంతమంది ఇక్కడ బొట్టు పెట్టుకుంటారు, ఇక్కడేమో నామాలు పెట్టుకుంటారు. దిస్ పర్టికులర్ ఫోర్ హెడ్ ఈజ్ యాక్చువల్లీ సీన్ యాజ్ అ సేక్రెడ్ ప్లేస్ బికాస్ the rishis or the sages that are part of this particular Bharatakanda, they have realized the fact that the organ that is behind this particular forehead is responsible for effective decisions. So, responsible for effective decisions. Hence, we have to be very, very careful in understand the anatomy of this particular prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex, as I said to you, that it is responsible for problem solving and decision making. One. Second thing is the prefrontal cortex loni, there is something called as hippocampus. It is called as hippocampus. ఈ hippocampus లోని ఏంటి అనేసనంటే it is the repository of all the experiences that the prefrontal cortex is trying to send. రిపోజిటరీ అంటే ఒక బ్యాంక్ బ్యాలెన్స్ లాంటిది అనమాట. నేను ఒకవేళ కానీ ఈరోజు ఈ సందర్భంలో ఒక పాజిటివ్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ మీ అందరితోని వచ్చింది అనేసనంటే ఆ పాజిటివ్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ అనేది ప్రీ ఫ్రంటల్ కార్టెక్స్ ఈజ్ యాక్చువల్లీ సెండింగ్ సిగ్నల్స్ టు హిపోకాంపస్. ఆ హిపోకాంపస్లోని ఏంటవుతున్నది అంటే ఈ పాజిటివ్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్సెస్ అన్నీ కూడాను లోడ్ అయి ఉంటాయి అన్నమాట. దిస్ ఇస్ వాట్ prefrontal cortex is actually sending, and as a repository that hippocampus is actually trying to take. ఇంకొక ఆర్గన్ ఏంటున్నది అంటే అమిగ్డాలా అనేసి ఒకటి ఉన్నది. అమిగ్డాలా బిట్వీన్ ప్రీఫ్రంటల్ కార్టెక్స్ అండ్ హిపోకాంపస్ దెర్ ఇస్ అ స్మాల్ ఆర్గన్ కాల్డ్ అస్ అమిగ్డాలా. ఈ అమిగ్డాలా ఈ ఫంక్షన్ ఏంటి అనేసి అంటే ఇట్ హ్యాస్ టు రెగ్యులేట్ ద ఇమోషన్స్ ఆఫ్ అన్ ఇండివిజువల్. ఇండివిజువల్ యొక్క ఇమోషన్స్ అనేది చూసుకుంటూ ఉంటుంది అనమాట. సో ఒకవేళ కానీ మనం పాజిటివ్ ఒకవేళ కానీ ప్రీఫ్రంటల్ కార్టెక్స్ ద్వారాను ఇఫ్ అట్ ఆల్ వీఆర్ నాట్ టేకింగ్ డెసిషన్స్ ఇఫెక్టివ్లీ ఆర్ ద ప్రీఫ్రంటల్ కార్టెక్స్ అనేది సరిగ్గా డెవలప్ అవ్వకపోతే, ఇఫ్ దెర్ ఈజ్ ఎనీ నెగటివ్ ఇన్ఫ్లుయెన్స్ ఆన్ ద ప్రీఫ్రంటల్ కార్టెక్స్, దెన్ ఈ ఎమిగ్డాలా అనేది యాక్టివేట్ అయ్యి ఇట్ విల్ ట్రై టు బ్రింగ్ అవుట్ దోస్ ఇమోషన్స్ దట్ ఇట్ రిక్వైర్స్ ఫర్ ఇట్ టు సస్టైన్. సో ఎలాంటి ఎమోషన్స్ ఇస్తుంది అనేసి అంటే ఇట్ విల్ బేసిక్లీ టేక్ దోస్ ఎమోషన్స్ విచ్ ఆర్ వెరీ వెరీ ప్లెజరబుల్ టు ఇట్ సెల్ఫ్, నాట్ వాట్ ఇట్ రిక్వైర్స్, వాట్ ఇట్ నీడ్స్. ఏది అవసరమో అలాంటి ఎమోషన్స్ని తీసుకోదు, ఏది తన సర్వైవల్కి అవసరమో అలాంటి తీసుకుంటుంది. సో దాని అర్థం ఏంటి అనేసి అంటే ఈ అమిగ్డాలా కానీ హిపో క్యాంపస్ అని లేకపోతేనేమో ఈ ప్రీఫ్రంటల్ కార్టెక్స్ అని మన ఎవ్రీడే లైఫ్లోని ఈ టెర్మినాలజీ మనం వాడకపోయినా కూడాను దాని తాలూకా ఇంపాక్ట్ ఏంటో అనే విషయం మనం తెలుసుకుంటాం అనమాట. లెట్స్ టేక్ ఎన్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, మన కాలేజ్ స్టూడెంట్స్ ఇప్పుడు మనం తెలుసుకుందాం. ఈ కాలేజ్ స్టూడెంట్స్ ఇప్పుడు అందరూ కూడాను వెదర్ దే ఆర్ ఇన్ ద కాలేజ్ ఆర్ ఎట్ హోమ్, వాళ్ళు ర్యాషనల్గా బిహేవ్ చేస్తున్నారా ఇర్రాషనల్గా బిహేవ్ చేస్తున్నారా అనేది మనం ఒకసారి అర్థం చేసుకుంటే మనందరం కూడాను మనకి మెచ్యూరిటీ వచ్చింది అని అనుకొని వాళ్ళందరూ ఇర్రాషనల్గా బిహేవ్ చేస్తున్నారని అనుకుంటాం మనం. ఎట్ స్కూల్ ఆర్ ఎట్ కాలేజ్ ఆర్ ఎట్ హోమ్ వాళ్ళు ఒకవేళ కానీ డ్రెస్సెస్ అన్ని ఎలా పడితే వాళ్ళు అలా పెట్టేస్తున్నారు, వాళ్ళు దే ఆర్ నాట్ పుట్టింగ్ దెమ్ ఇన్ ఆర్డర్, ఆర్ వాళ్ళు భోజనం చేసిన తర్వాత కొంచెం అక్కడ వదిలేస్తున్నారు, దే ఆర్ నాట్ టేకింగ్ కేర్ ఆఫ్ ఇట్. ఆర్ ఎట్ స్కూల్ ఆల్సో దే ఆర్ వెరీ వెరీ లేజీ, ప్యాసివ్, దే ఆర్ నాట్ హ్యావింగ్ ఎ సెన్స్ ఆఫ్ పర్పస్, కొంచెం రూడ్గా ఉంటున్నారు. ఇవన్నీ దేనివల్ల జరుగుతున్నాయి అనేసి అంటే దే ఆర్ నాట్ యూజింగ్ ద రేషనల్ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ దేర్ బ్రెయిన్. దే ఆర్ మేనేజింగ్ దేర్ పర్సనాలిటీ త్రూ ఇమోషన్స్. బాగా గుర్తుంచుకోండి, సెన్సరీ ఆర్గన్స్ లెవెల్స్లోనే ఈ ఇప్పుడుండే జనరేషన్ అందరూ కూడాను దే ఆర్ యాక్టింగ్, they are not basically taking enough of information through sensory organs for information processing at the thought process level. So వాళ్ళ కళ్ళతోనే వాళ్ళు దే ఆర్ ట్రైంగ్ టు టేక్ సమ్ డెసిషన్స్, వాళ్ళ చెవులతోనే దే ఆర్ ట్రైంగ్ టు టేక్ డెసిషన్స్, వాళ్ళ మౌత్తోనే దే ఆర్ ట్రైంగ్ టు టేక్ డెసిషన్స్, వాళ్ళ బాడీతోనే దే ఆర్ ట్రైంగ్ టు టేక్ డెసిషన్, బట్ దే ఆర్ నాట్ యాక్చువల్లీ ట్రైంగ్ టు టేక్ ఎనీథింగ్ ఇన్సైడ్. దే ఆర్ నాట్ ట్రైంగ్ టు ప్రాసెస్ ఇట్, దే ఆర్ నాట్ ట్రైంగ్ టు ఇంటర్ప్రెట్ ఇట్, దే ఆర్ నాట్ ట్రైంగ్ టు టేక్ ఎ డెసిషన్. అంత క్విక్గా వెళ్ళిపోతున్నారు, మీరు అబ్జర్వ్ చేయండి. ఎవ్రీథింగ్ దే వాంట్ క్విక్ ఫిక్సెస్ ఇన్ దేర్ లైఫ్. ఈ క్విక్ ఫిక్స్ ఎప్పుడవుతుంది అనేసి అంటే వెన్ ద ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ఈజ్ నాట్ ప్రాసెస్డ్ డీప్లీ at the face of the sensory organs, the information is processed by the sensory organs by themselves and immediately a decision is taken. ఇది నిజంగా జరుగుతుందా సార్? ఒక 22-year-old adolescent, 18-year-old adolescent, లేకపోతే 21-year-old young adult, are they trying to take decision through sensory organs? అంటే yes, దాన్ని ప్రూవ్ చేయాలి అనేసి అంటే you take your small kid to any pleasurable destination. అండ్ వాళ్ళేమో క్వెషన్స్ అడగండి నీకేంటి ఇష్టం అనేసి అంటే చాక్లెట్ ఇష్టం అనేసి అన్నారనుకోండి. చాక్లెట్ ఎందుకు అనేసి అంటే చాలా స్వీట్‌గా ఉంటుంది అనేసి. స్వీట్ ఈస్ యాక్చువల్లీ రిలేటెడ్ టు ద టంగ్. సో, ఆ టేస్ట్. సో, ఈ టేస్ట్ ద్వారా దే ఆర్ ట్రైయింగ్ టు టేక్ ఎ డెసిషన్. బట్ ఒకవేళ ఆ టేస్ట్ కొంచెం బియాండ్ మనం వెళ్ళామనేసంటే దేర్ ఈస్ సంథింగ్ కాల్డ్ యాస్ షుగర్ అండ్ హౌ షుగర్ ఈస్ గోయింగ్ టు ఇంపాక్ట్ ద లెవెల్స్ ద బాడీ లెవెల్స్ ఇవన్నీ మనం తెలుసుకొని వెదర్ షుగర్ ఈస్ రిక్వైర్డ్, నాట్ రిక్వైర్డ్, రెగ్యులేటెడ్, నాట్ రెగ్యులేటెడ్ ఇవన్నీ మనం ఏమో తెలుసుకుంటాం. బట్ at their level because of the maturity they have or because of the exposure they are actually given to, they are unable to take decisions rationally. సో, ఇప్పుడు ఈ కాలేజ్ గోయింగ్ స్టూడెంట్స్ అందరూ కూడాను దే ఆర్ అన్‌ఫార్చునేట్‌లీ టేకింగ్ డెసిషన్స్ ఎట్ ద సెన్సరీ ఆర్గన్ లెవెల్స్ ఓన్లీ. అన్‌ఫార్చునేట్‌లీ. They are not deeply processing the information inside them because they are never exposed to. ఎక్స్‌పోజర్ లేదు. అన్‌ఫార్చునేట్. ఏమంటారు?
Sir, as you said, the prefrontal cortex develops till 24 years.
ఎగ్జాక్ట్‌లీ.
Because of that, it is not.
ఎగ్జాక్ట్‌లీ. చాలా మంచి పాయింట్ చెప్పారు. అంటే ఇప్పుడు మనకొక విషయం తెలిసింది. 24 ఇయర్స్ వరకు ప్రీఫ్రంటల్ కార్టెక్స్ ఏమో డెవలప్ అవ్వదు కాబట్టి 24 ఇయర్స్ వరకు ఏ తప్పు చేసినా మనం యాక్సెప్ట్ చేయొచ్చా? ఆర్ ఏ తప్పు చేస్తున్నా కూడాను అయ్యో పాపం ప్రీఫ్రంటల్ కార్టెక్స్ డెవలప్ అవ్వలేదు కాబట్టి పాపం ఇలా బిహేవ్ చేస్తున్నాడు అని మనం అనుకోవచ్చా? షేర్ చేసుకోండి. పర్వాలేదు. సార్ మీరు అన్‌మ్యూట్ చేసుకొని మాట్లాడండి సార్. ప్లీజ్ అన్‌మ్యూట్ అండ్ స్పీక్ సార్. యాహ్! సార్ అన్‌మ్యూట్ చేసి మాట్లాడండి సార్.
Sir, I lost connection in between.
నో, ఐయామ్ ట్రైయింగ్ టు సే దట్ ఒకవేళ గాని ప్రీఫ్రంటల్ కార్టెక్స్ అనేది 24 ఇయర్స్ వరకు డెవలప్ అవ్వదు కాబట్టి వాళ్ళు అలా బిహేవ్ చేస్తున్నారు అనేసనంటే ప్రీఫ్రంటల్ కార్టెక్స్ డెవలప్ అవ్వలేదు కాబట్టి వాళ్ళు ఏ తప్పైనా చెయ్యొచ్చా? నంబర్ 1 ఒకవేళ ఏమైనా తప్పులు చేస్తూ ఉంటే అయ్యో పాపం డెవలప్ అవ్వలేదు కాబట్టి తినేమో ఇలా బిహేవ్ చేస్తున్నాడు కదా అని మనం సానుభూతి చూపించొచ్చా? అంటే మనకిప్పుడు కాజ్ తెలిసిపోయింది కదా! ఇప్పుడు ప్రతీదీ కూడా మనం అలాగే చూస్తాం కదా ఇప్పటి నుంచి. సో, కాజ్ తెలుసుకున్న దేనికోసం అనేసనంటే, ఇప్పుడు దాన్ని అర్థం చేసుకున్న తర్వాత దాని ప్రకారంగా మనం ఎలాగా పర్సన్‌ని ఇన్‌ఫ్లూయెన్స్ చేసి, వాళ్ళకి కూడా అది తెలిసేటట్లు చేసి, ఓకే. అవును కదా! నేను నా ఎవ్రీడే లైఫ్‌లోని ఐయామ్ అనేబుల్ టు టేక్ డెసిషన్స్ ప్రాపర్‌లీ కదా! అని అనుకుంటూ దాని మీద ఎక్సర్‌సైజ్ చేయడం అనేది మనం ఇవ్వాల్సిన ఒక ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్. లెట్స్ టేక్ ఎన్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ రీసెంట్‌లీ జస్ట్ 2 days back మై సన్ కేమ్ టు మీ and then he interacted with me. Very freely he interacts with me because of the kind of environment I have given at home. సో, తను ఏమన్నాడు అనేసనంటే నాన్నగారు ఈ మధ్యన నేను గిల్టీ ఫీలింగ్ ఎక్కువ అయిపోతున్నది అనేసి అన్నాడు. హిస్ ఏజ్ ఈస్ హీస్ స్టడీయింగ్ 9th స్టాండర్డ్. సో, హిస్ ఏజ్ ఈస్ అరౌండ్ 14 ఇయర్స్. సో, 14 ఇయర్స్ అనేసనంటే హి ఈస్ ఇన్ అడాలసెంట్ స్టేజ్. సో, I asked him, you use the word called as guilty. What do you mean by guilty అన్నాను. So how did you use this word called as guilty? 14 years he used the word called as guilty. Very, very technical word. I'm very happy about it. Then he said, నేను ఏవైతే పనులు స్టార్ట్ చేస్తుంటానో ఆ పనులు నేనేమో ఫినిష్ చేయలేకపోతున్నాను. అందువల్ల ఫినిష్ చేయలేని తర్వాత ఐ ఫీల్ వెరీ అన్‌హ్యాపీ అబౌట్ మైసెల్ఫ్. నేను చాలా బాధపడిపోతూ ఉంటాను దాని గురించి. ఆ బాధపడిపోతున్నాను కాబట్టి నేనేమో దాంట్లోంచి నేను బయటకి రాలేకపోతున్నాను. గిల్టీ ఫీల్ అవుతున్నాను నేను అని చెప్పాడు. వెరీ హ్యాపీ. నేనేమన్నానంటే ఫస్ట్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ థింగ్ ఏమన్నానంటే, యూ హ్యావ్ రికగ్నైజ్డ్ వాట్ ఈస్ గోయింగ్ రాంగ్ విత్ యువర్ సెల్ఫ్ కదా! దట్ ఈస్ ద గ్రేటెస్ట్ డిస్కవరీ అన్నాను. అనేసంటే హి డిడ్ నాట్ అండర్‌స్టాండ్. దట్స్ ఓకే అనుకున్నాడు. బికాజ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఎ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ హిస్ ఓన్ ఎవ్రీడే కోర్స్ ఆఫ్ యాక్షన్ అనేసి అనుకున్నాడు. బట్ ఐ టోల్డ్ హిమ్ వన్ థింగ్. ఓకే ఫైన్. నువ్వు ఒక పని చేద్దాం అనుకుంటున్నావు. అది చేయలేకపోతున్నావు కాబట్టి కాన్సిక్వెన్స్‌గా గిల్టీ ఫీలింగ్ వస్తున్నా కదా! యూ డూ వన్ థింగ్. నువ్వు ఏదైతే చేద్దాం అనుకుంటున్నావో వాట్ ఈస్ ద లెవెల్ ఆఫ్ డిఫికల్టీ అనేసి అంటే డిఫికల్టీ లెవెల్స్ ఏమో రెండుగా డివైడ్ చేసుకున్నాడు. ఒకటి లెట్స్ టేక్ అన్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ సైకలాజికల్ థింగ్స్ అనుకుందాం. సైకలాజికల్ థింగ్స్ అంటే పొద్దున్న 5 o'clock లేవడం అనుకుందాం. ఓకే, ఆర్ ఈటింగ్ గుడ్ హ్యాబిట్స్ అని అనుకుందాం. ఓకే, గుడ్ ఫుడ్ అనుకుందాం. ఇవన్నీ సైకలాజికల్ థింగ్స్ అనమాట. ఇది పొద్దున్న 5 o'clock లేవాలి అనేసి అంటే ఇట్ ఈస్ వెరీ డిఫికల్ట్ ఫర్ ఎ పర్సన్. సో లేవలేదు కాబట్టి గిల్టీ ఫీలింగ్ అనేది ఒకటి రావచ్చు, నెంబర్ 1. రెండోది ఒక డిఫికల్ట్ ప్రాజెక్ట్ తనకి స్కూల్లో ఏదైతే ఉన్నాదో అది నేను ఫలానా టైం కల్లా నేను చేసేయాలి, అది చేయలేకపోతున్నాను కాబట్టి నాకు గిల్టీ ఫీలింగ్ వచ్చింది అని తను అనుకోవచ్చు. ఓకే, సో అలాంటి సందర్భంలోని ఈ ఫస్ట్ది నేను కానీ పక్కన పెడితే, అదేంటి సైకలాజికల్ ఫీలింగ్ అనేది నేను పక్కన పెడితే, నేను ఏం చెప్పానంటే ఏవైతే ఫిజికల్ యాక్టివిటీస్ నువ్వేమో చేస్తూ ఉంటావో అవి నువ్వు అట్ ద మోస్ట్ డిఫికల్ట్ లెవెల్లో పెట్టుకోకుండాను ఈ గిల్టీ ఫీలింగ్ ఉన్నది కాబట్టి అగైన్ యూ హావ్ టు స్టార్ట్ ఫ్రమ్ స్క్రాచ్. లెట్స్ టేక్ అన్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, యూ కమ్ బ్యాక్ ఫ్రమ్ స్కూల్ నుంచి వచ్చిన తర్వాత నువ్వు రిఫ్రెష్ అయిపోయి ఒక హాఫ్ అన్ అవర్ నువ్వు మొబైల్తోనేవో గేమ్స్ ఆడేసుకున్న తర్వాత యూ సే దట్ ఐ నీడ్ టు బేసిక్లీ డూ బైసైకిల్ రైడింగ్ ఫర్ 15 minutes. ఇక్కడ మన అపార్ట్మెంట్ కిందన యూ గో అవుట్ సైడ్ అండ్ దెన్ డూ రైడింగ్ ఫర్ 15 minutes అండ్ కమ్ బ్యాక్. ఇది థాట్ ప్రాసెస్ పెట్టుకో మార్నింగ్ లేచిన తర్వాత. సో దెన్ యూ ప్లీజ్ వర్క్ ఆన్ ఇట్. ట్రై టు పాజిటివ్లీ రీఇన్ఫోర్స్ టు యువర్ సెల్ఫ్ దట్ 15 minutes నేను సైకిల్ రైడింగ్ చేసుకుంటాను అనేసి. So that is the easiest thing. As a matter of fact, that's the easiest thing. He does not have any terms and conditions. There are no, what is this called as bonds. There are no bondages. There are nothing. So he comes back from the school, he gets freshened up, and after that he looks into the video, games ఏవో ఆడుకుంటాడు, ఆ తర్వాత ఏవో చిన్న ప్రాక్టీస్ చేసుకుంటాడు, ఆ తర్వాత he goes for cycle riding. A cycle riding లోనేమో it's a fun activity, it's a free activity. Nobody is stopping him, nobody is saying that you have to apply brake here, nothing like that. So he does that activity for 15 minutes and he comes back. So now what is registered in prefrontal cortex at the amygdala and at the hippocampus ఇది మనం అబ్జర్వ్ చేసుకోవాలి. సో ఈ ప్రీఫ్రాంటల్ కార్టెక్స్ ద్వారా తనకి వెళ్ళింది ఏంటి అంటే నువ్వు ఇలాగ చిన్న చిన్న మోడిఫికేషన్స్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. పెద్ద పెద్ద టార్గెట్స్ పెట్టుకొని అది నువ్వు అచీవ్ చేయలేకపోతున్నావు కాబట్టి యూ స్టార్ట్ ఫ్రమ్ ద లోవెస్ట్ లెవెల్ అండ్ దెన్ ట్రై టు హ్యావ్ ఎ కంట్రోల్ ఆఫ్ ఇట్. You will have basically good experience, favorable experience, because you can easily do it. Our favorable experience will basically bring out favorable response. That favorable response has a content called as positive emotions. Positive emotions will actually give you positive experiences, subsequent positive experiences. Positive experiences will give you positive response. Positive emotions will be deposited in your hippocampus. సో ఇప్పుడు ఏంటవుతుంది తర్వాత మళ్ళీ అగైన్ దెర్ ఇస్ ఎ కాన్ఫ్లిక్ట్ బిట్వీన్ హిమ్. నేను ఒక పని చేద్దాం అనుకున్నాను, నేను చేయలేకపోతున్నాను, గిల్టీ ఫీలింగ్ ఎందుకు రాదు అనేసానంటే హీ హ్యాస్ అగైన్ బిల్ట్ ఎ స్మాల్ మెకానిజం wherein he is actually able to accomplish small activities by his own thought process. So అది బ్యాలెన్స్ అవుతున్నది. Here he is unable to do it, here he is able to do it. So the problem is not guilty feeling, it is able to understand what my limitations are and see that my capabilities are growing to a level where the limitations are obstructing him, and see that he is actually reaching to the level where his abilities are required. సో ఇట్లా మనం ఏంటంటే చిన్న చిన్న మోడిఫికేషన్స్ చేసుకోవడం వల్ల ఇట్ బికమ్ సో ఈజీ అనమాట. సో ఈ ఫీనియస్ కేజ్ తనకు హిస్టరీలో ఈ స్టోరీలో కూడాను మనం అర్థం చేసుకోవాల్సింది ఏంటి అంటే దేర్ ఆర్ ఛాన్సెస్ దట్ some things happen with respect to our physical aspects of our body, and our physical aspects of our body do have an influence on our psychological aspects as well as on our everyday behaviors also. Unfortunately, there are few things that are in our control, there are many things which are not in our control. Let's take an example about this Phineas Cage. Yes, he became so aggressive, but what is the environment which is surrounding him in order to make him understand, or in order to understand about his present situation, and how the environment around him can basically take him to a more comfortable situation or less painful experiences. This is what is necessary for us to understand. Okay, I'll bring you another case. Okay, can you see this? Please respond.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Please read this case. First, you have read about Phineas Cage, and this is another case. I'll just read it for your understanding. The curious case of patient HM. On September 1, 1953, time stopped for Henry Molaison. For roughly 10 years, the 27-year-old had suffered severe seizures. మనం ఇప్పుడు ఫిట్స్ అంటాం కదా. By 1953, they were so debilitating he could no longer hold down his job as a motor winder on an assembly line. On September 1st, Molaison allowed surgeons to remove a thumb-sized section of tissue from each side of his brain. It was an experimental procedure that he and his surgeons hoped would quell the seizures wracking his brain, and it worked. The seizures abated, but afterwards, Molaison was left with a permanent amnesia. He could remember some things, scenes from his childhood, some facts about his parents, and historical events that occurred before his surgery, but he was not able to form new memories. If he met someone who then left the room within minutes, he had no idea at all. Okay, so which means it's an important thing that we understand is that there are some organs in our brain that are important for us to understand the impact they can create on our memory, on the memory retrieval, on how we can basically work ourselves in the current affairs. So that is the thing. This is another event. The murder of Kitty Genovese and the bystander effect. Have you heard about this event? The murder of Kitty Genovese and the bystander effect?
No, sir.
Okay. So Catherine Kitty Genovese, a New York City woman who was stabbed to death near her home in the Kew Garden section of Queens, New York on March 13, 1964. ఇక్కడ చూడండి, for more than half an hour, 38 respectable law-abiding citizens in Queens watched a killer stalk and stab a woman in 3 separate attacks in Kew Gardens. Twice the sound of their voices and the sudden glow of their bedroom lights interrupted him and frightened him off. Each time he returned, sought her out and stabbed her again. Kitty Genovese is a very good case for all of us to understand, for all the students of psychology. ఇప్పుడు ఈ కేసెస్ నేను ఎందుకు చెప్తున్నాను అంటే ఇట్ హ్యాస్ లాట్ ఆఫ్ రిలవెన్స్ టు లైఫ్ స్పాన్ డెవలప్మెంట్. ఎందువల్ల అనిపిస్తుందంటే చైల్డ్హుడ్ నుంచి ఓల్డ్ ఏజ్ వరకును ఏజ్ వైజ్గా కొన్ని చేంజెస్ మన పర్సనాలిటీలో రావచ్చు, రాకపోవచ్చు. లేకపోతే ఈవెంట్స్ ఇన్ ఏ పర్సన్స్ లైఫ్ విల్ ఆల్సో హ్యావ్ ఎన్ బేరింగ్ ఆన్ అవర్ లైఫ్ స్టోరీస్ ఆల్సో. అందువల్ల ఏంటి అంటే వాట్ ఆర్ దీస్ కేసెస్ అండ్ హౌ దీస్ కేసెస్ హ్యావ్ ఎన్ ఇంపాక్ట్ ఆన్ ద పీపుల్ అరౌండ్ దెమ్, ద పీపుల్ టు దెమ్సెల్స్ అనేది మనం తెలుసుకోవాల్సిన బాధ్యత ఉంది. సో ఈ కిటీ జినోవీస్ కేస్ అనేది చాలా ఇంట్రెస్టింగ్ కేస్. ఇది ఎలా ఉంటుంది అనేసి అంటే వన్స్ దట్ లేడీ వాజ్ యాక్చువల్లీ గోయింగ్ అవుట్ ఆఫ్ హర్ హోమ్ అండ్ దెన్ వన్ పర్సన్ స్టాక్ టు హర్ అండ్ దెన్ he stabbed her till her death. So now the case is very interesting to all the psychologists because there are 38 law-abiding citizens anis annaru. I completely disagree with the word called as citizen in current days context. Enduvalla ante ippudu I'm just slightly going away from the routine anamata. ఇప్పుడు మనం పిల్లల్ని పెంచుతున్నాము అనేసి అంటూ ఉంటాం. పిల్లల్ని పెంచుతున్నాం అంటే ఏంటి అనేసి అంటే పిల్లల్ని మంచి చదువులు చదివిస్తున్నాము, వాళ్ళని లైఫ్ సెటిల్ చేపిస్తున్నాం మనం. సో పిల్లల్ని బాగా పెంచుతున్నాం, వాళ్ళకి సరైన ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఇస్తున్నాం, సరైన ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ ఇస్తున్నాం, వాళ్ళని మంచి ఉద్యోగంలోనేమో సెటిల్ అయ్యే విధంగా వాళ్ళు తీర్చిదిద్దుకుంటున్నారు. అయితే నో వేర్ ఈస్ ద సిటిజన్ ఓవర్ హియర్? వీ హ్యావ్ పీపుల్ ఇన్ ఇండియా బట్ వేర్ ఆర్ పీపుల్ యాజ్ సిటిజన్స్ ఇన్ ఇండియా? దిస్ ఇస్ వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్. లెట్స్ టేక్ అన్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్. మనం ఒకవేళ కానీ ఎక్కడన్నా చౌరాస్తా అక్కడికి ఇక్కడికి వెళ్తే సిగ్నల్ క్రాసింగ్స్ దగ్గర కానీ ఇంకో దగ్గర హౌ మెనీ పీపుల్ ఆర్ యాక్చువల్లీ బ్రేకింగ్ ద సిగ్నల్స్? హౌ మెనీ పీపుల్ ఆర్ రెస్పాన్సిబుల్ at their own homes with respect to their surroundings? how many people are actually doing right in the society, how many people are doing wrong in the society. There are a lot of morals that are necessitated for a law abiding citizen. So citizen and మనం ఏమైనా అనుకోవచ్చా మనల్ని మనం, or are we people, or are we individuals? We are individuals, but we are not transformed as citizens. So educational institutions ఏం చేయాలి అనేసి అంటే they should basically transform a individual to a very good citizen. ఈ సిటిజన్ చేయడం వల్ల ఏంటవుతుంది అనేసి అంటే the country will be more responsible to the people inside, the country will be more responsible to people outside. అలా కాదు అని ఏంటవుతుందంటే ఆల్ ద పీపుల్ ఇన్సైడ్ విల్ బేసిక్లీ ఫోకస్ ఆల్ దేర్ ఎనర్జీస్ ఇన్ ఆర్డర్ టు మేక్ దేర్ ఓన్ లివింగ్ అండ్ లైఫ్. If everybody gets involved in their own life, then who will take care of the society? Who will take care of the weak and suffering? Who will take care of the country? So because we are not taking care of the society, the country, the governance, then we have politicians who are actually trying to do whatever they want to do. Because we are not responsible to what is happening, so we should not have any kind of authority in order to criticize what is this called as the politicians are actually doing in the country. సో నేను సొసైటీని మళ్ళీ లేకపోతే నేను కంట్రీని ఏమైనా మార్చగలుగుతానా అనేసరంటే ఇట్ ఈస్ ఎసెన్షియల్ దట్ psychology is only trying to give you an understanding of the fact that if at all you are psychologically well, if you are very good physically as well as psychologically, then the chances are that you can basically maximize the well-being to the people around you or the people who are dependent on you. సో నేను ఒకవేళ కానీ నాకు రైట్ పర్స్పెక్టివ్ ఆఫ్ లైఫ్ అనేది నాకు తెలిస్తే నేను రైట్ పర్స్పెక్టివ్ ఆఫ్ లైఫ్ని నా మీద డిపెండ్ అయ్యే వాళ్ళకి నేను ఇవ్వగలుగుతాను. నేను ఒక రైట్ పర్స్పెక్టివ్స్లో వెళ్ళకుండా నేను వెళ్ళేదే రైట్ పర్స్పెక్టివ్ అని అనుకుంటే, సో దెన్ ఐఎమ్ నాట్ రిలేటింగ్ మై సెల్ఫ్ టు ద సొసైటీ, టు ద కమ్యూనిటీస్, టు ద స్టేట్, టు ద కంట్రీ, టు ద వరల్డ్. సో నా మటు నేను చదువుకుంటున్నాను, నా మటు నేనేమో ఒక కంపెనీలో వర్క్ చేసుకుంటున్నాను, నా మటు నేను ఇంటికి వచ్చేస్తున్నాను, అక్కడ నుంచి నేనేమో అబ్రాడ్ వెళ్ళిపోతున్నాను, అబ్రాడ్ వెళ్ళిపోయిన తర్వాత అక్కడ నేను నా విల్లాలో నేను ఉంటాను. సో దెన్ హూ విల్ బేసికలీ టేక్ కేర్ ఆఫ్ ద సొసైటీ, హూ విల్ బేసికలీ టేక్ కేర్ ఆఫ్ ద కంట్రీ? So if all the intelligent people, so-called intelligent people generally leave the country, then who will basically take care of the country? So what is the solution for it? The solution for it is, if I am able to take myself, if I am able to take care of myself psychologically and physically, if I am able to take care of my family members, if I am able to transform my children as responsible citizens, the country will be more safe. That is what is the country required. A country kade kavali ippudu. Ala kaakunda anything else that I am trying to do is I am trying to bring out individuals. So which is not at all correct to any society. This is the lesson that we need to understand. So ఇప్పుడు ఈ కిటీ జినోవిస్ కేసులోని ద మోస్ట్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ లెసన్ ఫర్ ద సైకాలజిస్ట్ ఏంటి అంటే, అక్కడ 38 law abiding citizens అనేసి అంటే why is that nobody has called? Why is that nobody has actually initiated in order to save that particular lady from that particular stalker? ఇది చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్. నోబడీ హెస్ కేర్డ్ ఫర్ ఇట్. సో దీన్ని ఏమంటారు అనేసి అంటే బై స్టాండర్ ఎఫెక్ట్ అంటున్నారు అనమాట సైకాలజిస్ట్. ఈ బై స్టాండర్ ఎఫెక్ట్ అంటే ఏంటి అంటే, ఇఫ్ ఏ పర్సన్ అమాంగ్ దట్ పర్టికులర్ గ్రూప్ ఫీల్ దట్ దెర్ ఆర్ మోర్ నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ పీపుల్ దాన్ మీ, then I will basically stop myself in initiating any kind of activity or action, because I always feel that నాతో పాటు చాలా మంది ఉన్నారు కాబట్టి వాళ్ళు చేస్తారులే, నేను చేయవలసిన అవసరం లేదు. బై స్టాండర్ ఎఫెక్ట్. అంతేగాని నా లోపల ఇనిషియేషన్ ఏది? సో ఈ ఇనిషియేషన్ అనేది లేకపోతే గిల్టీనెస్ అనేది తర్వాత పెద్ద అయిన తర్వాత ఏర్పడుతుంది. అది ఎవరు ప్రూవ్ చేస్తున్నారు అంటే ఎరిక్సన్ అనే పర్సన్ ప్రూవ్ చేస్తున్నారు. సో సిగ్మండ్ ఫ్రాయిడ్ ఏమని చెప్తున్నారంటే డిఫరెంట్ ఐమ్ జస్ట్ ట్రైయింగ్ టు గివ్ యూ ద మోడల్స్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ పర్సనాలిటీ థియరీస్ కానీ మనం అర్థం చేసుకుంటే, సిగ్మండ్ ఫ్రాయిడ్ ఏమని చెప్పారు అనేసనంటే, ద పాస్ట్ ఈజ్ అన్ ఇండికేటర్ ఆఫ్ యువర్ ఫ్యూచర్ లైఫ్ అనేసి అంటున్నారు. చైల్డ్హుడ్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్సెస్లో నువ్వు ఏదైతే అనుభవించేవో They are all basically the reasons why your life is like this. And majority of the people who have come during the age of Sigmund Freud or after Sigmund Freud did not agree to the fact that childhood influences are the only determinant for the future development of the personality. Anedi, they did not agree. So Eric Erikson mentioned that it is not just the childhood experiences. Yes, childhood experience has a bearing on the personality development, but it is not necessary that we have to accept that the personality is dead. We cannot basically change anything. He says that the individual's interaction or dynamics with the social environment can also shape up the personality. అనేసి ఎరిక్ ఎరిక్సన్ చెప్పాడు. How well he is actually passing through this particular social opportunities కానీ social environment అనేది, it has its own impact on the personality per se అని చెప్తున్నారు అనమాట. ఇది కాకుండా జీన్ పియాజే అనేసి ఉన్నారు, JEANPIAGET అనేసి. జీన్ పియాజే ఏమంటారు అనేసి అంటే, ఎస్ సోషల్ environment is also an influence of personality, but it is essential that the cognitive development is also should be understood very well, so that the individual tries to understand how he is actually making some rational decisions in his life. So cognitive development is also an important ingredient for a personality development. So there is another person called as Kohlberg అనేసి ఉన్నారు. Kohlberg, KOHLBERG అనేసి. So he says that a person's personality is also dependent on the moral values. So at what stage is the moral development of the individual is the basis of an understanding of how well the personality is developed in an individual అని చాలా డిఫరెంట్గా చెప్పారనమాట. సో అందువల్ల ఇవన్నీ కూడాను దే ఆర్ ఆల్ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ అండర్స్టాండింగ్ దిస్ లైఫ్ స్పాన్ యాజ్ ఏ హోల్ అనమాట. అట్ డిఫరెంట్ స్టేజెస్లోని జరుగుతూ ఉంటుంది. అందు గురించి కొంతమంది సైకాలజిస్టులు ఏమంటారంటే, ఈ పర్సనాలిటీ ఆర్గానిక్గా డెవలప్ అవుతూ ఉంటుందా, లేదు అనేసి అంటే ఇన్ఆర్గానిక్గా డెవలప్ అవుతూ ఉంటుందా. అంటే ఇన్ఆర్గానిక్గా డెవలప్ అంటే స్టేజ్ వైజ్ డెవలప్ అవుతూ ఉంటుందా, లేకపోతేనేమో క్యూములేటివ్గా డెవలప్ అవుతూ ఉంటుందా. లెట్స్ టేక్ అన్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఏజ్ అనేది ఏంటవుతుంది అనేసి అంటే 0 నుంచి 90 ఇయర్స్ వరకు, 95, 100 ఇయర్స్ వరకు క్యూములేటివ్గా అలాగా మనకి పెరుగుతూ ఉంటుంది. సో పర్సనాలిటీ ఈజ్ హ్యావింగ్ దట్ ఆర్గానిక్ గ్రోత్. పర్సనాలిటీ అనేది డెవలప్మెంట్ అనేది ఒక కంటిన్యూటీ అనేది ఉన్నది. ఇంకొకరు ఏమంటారంటే స్టేజ్ థియరీస్ అని చెప్తూ ఉంటారనమాట. స్టేజ్ థియరీస్ అంటే ఫలానా ఏజ్లోని ఇది జరగాలి, ఇది జరగకపోతే ఇట్ హ్యాస్ ఇట్స్ బేరింగ్ ఆన్ ఫ్యూచర్ లైఫ్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్సెస్ అని చెప్తూ ఉంటారు. సో డిఫరెంట్ స్టేజెస్లోని ఆ పర్టికులర్ పర్సనాలిటీ యొక్క వాట్ ఈస్ ఇస్ కాల్డ్ అస్ మెచ్యూరిటీ లెవెల్స్ని మనం గాజ్ చేసుకొని, ఒకవేళ కానీ ఆ మెచ్యూరిటీ లెవెల్ కానీ ఆ పర్టికులర్ స్టేజ్లో డెవలప్ అవ్వకపోతే, then we are supposed to basically do some kind of interventions to ensure that there is some kind of balance in that particular personality. Ani mano, we are supposed to take the individual to the next level. Understood? ఇంతవరకు ఏమైనా అర్థమైందా? అర్థమవుతున్నదా లేకపోతే చాలా కన్ఫ్యూజింగ్గా ఉందా? చెప్పండి సార్, జగదీష్ గారు.
Sir, am I audible, sir?
Yes, you're audible, loud and clear.
Sir, I got your all the Eric Erickson's page as well as Kohlberg, all the three. I mean, my question may be a bit of a digression in the sense the personalities are being evolved with all these three aspects. Where do you put the applied psychology point of view, the existing so-called big people's personalities nowadays, which is none of them is there in that, the morality is not there, or that's what I'm saying, it's a bit of a digression, but how these personalities got evolved in this process where they're just different than the none of these three psychological process of development.
Okay, so I just want to rephrase what you said, sir. You are actually seeing the society in general, and you have identified few individuals who are not in tune with what is expected out of them.
True.
So they are behaving in a way which is not socially acceptable.
Absolutely, sir. Right. Absolutely.
So now, when they are behaving in the ways they are that are not socially acceptable, or in the way that the society needs them to behave, then where do we put them? So
Absolutely, sir.
my understanding, my perspective is, um, we may not be able to basically attribute these kind of errors of personality growth in the individuals unless otherwise we basically take personal responsibility of seeing them in our family. Now, if at all we say that all these things are because of the schools and colleges or educational institutions, it is so easy for us to basically do a blame game or start a blame game, saying that I am not responsible, hence they are responsible. So, if at all we are looking at people who are actually behaving in an undesirable manner, it all starts with how they are actually groomed in the home. Now, what happens in the home is entirely contrasting to what is happening in the society. Now, let's take an example. If I'm trying to bring my child or my daughter in a way how they are supposed to behave in the society, so I cannot basically teach them all good values so that they will actually become good people. అంటే నేను మా పిల్లలతోని ఎప్పుడు మంచిగా మాట్లాడుతూ మంచి విషయాలే షేర్ చేసుకుంటూ అంతా మంచి మంచి మంచి. సో ఇఫ్ ఐ టీచ్ మై కిడ్స్ ఓన్లీ ద గుడ్ అండ్ నథింగ్ ఎల్స్ టు మేక్ దెమ్ గుడ్ సిటిజన్స్, విచ్ ఈస్ అబ్సల్యూట్లీ రాంగ్, because there are a lot of dimensions in individual which needs to get operated or which needs to basically get acclimatized to what is happening in the society. So if I am teaching certain good qualities in my kids, I should also make them understand what is bad that is happening in and around. Now, what I am supposed to do is that as a parent, there are two people in a family. One is father and second one is mother. Okay, so this is an experiment that I do in my home. I'm not saying that this is the best experiment that everybody has to do it, but this is the experiment I am doing it. I am sure I am going to be successful. So I always tell my wife that, the love and affection should basically come from your end unconditionally to the child. Whereas the parent, the male parent or the father is supposed to basically bring the realities of life to the child. Okay, so the role reversals is also possible. There are no issues at all, because sometimes the daughter is very close to the father, and the son is very close to the mother. So we can do the role reversals. So if I only teach all the good things, and if they are not exposed to the vulnerabilities that the society is facing, they will be in shock when they enter into the society. So it is important that we have to expose the children as to the intricacies of the life, how they are actually happening. Let's take an example. In everyday, let's take an example. We have global wars that are happening between Israel and Iran. Okay, between Russia and Ukraine. So I may not be able to solve the war over there, but can I basically speak about wars with my children at home? What is the use of war? Why we should not basically go for war? Why is it people are actually going for war? What is the best path in order to basically, what is the middle path for it? What is happening in India with respect to politics? What is happening in India with respect to religion? What is happening in India with respect to employment? What is happening with respect to business? Because unfortunately, these are not the topics that are covered in education institutions. There is no degree called as BA honesty. Okay, there is no degree called as
Morality.
BA patience, BA tolerance, BTech, patience and all that. No, if all the education institutions are actually avoiding this most crucial life skills, then where are these? When are these students getting exposed to these life skills?
Society. Only society.
So now, so who is society once again? Society is you and me once again. Society is an extension of Ravikant once again. So because I cannot change society, the only thing that is very close, like my skin, is basically my children. Whether they like me, they dislike me, I need to basically bring in the reality. And there is no imbalance because, on one side, my wife is actually taking care of the love and affection. Let them basically feel some kind of heat, some kind of hardness from the father. But as they grow, they will understand the fact that, this is what is life. And I came to know all these things at my early stages of development through my father, who was very hard about all these things. So they may have a soft corner because of the emotions that are actually positive emotions, the comfortable emotions that are expressed from the mom, whereas the daughter or the son will basically get what is actually needed for them to basically cope with the pressures, with the situations, with the conflicts, with the challenges that are happening in the society. So if somebody is actually doing something wrong in the society, so what is his intention? What was his maksad? How was his intention actually fine-tuned? How was his intention developed? What are his value system? So నా ఉద్దేశం ప్రకారంగా ఏంటి అంటే, whoever are doing something good or bad in the society, or desirable, undesirable in the society, right or wrong in the society, for everything the base is values only. Values.
True.
Now the values are basically because of the attitudes. So what kind of attitude I am actually having in order to basically get this particular values? So if attitudes and values are shaped at home, the development of the children or the development of the society as a whole will be more healthier. So only thing that we can expect our children, or only thing that we can do to our children, is to basically give them exposure, necessary exposure for them to cope up, and also give them enough knowledge or capabilities, or ask them to basically develop enough knowledge or capabilities in order to solve some vulnerabilities of life in the society and life. Because if I ask my children that, you take care of yourself, I have given you the best of abilities to manage yourself, then who will manage the society? So it is essential that I also need to ingrain the importance of an individual influencing the society for shaping the society for the right direction, for the right purpose, for the right goal. Because ఒక ఇంపార్టెంట్ విషయం ఏంటి అంటే, society does not require thousands of good people for it to basically be lead to the right destination. Society required very, very few people to be taken in the right direction, not many people to be taken in the right direction. If at all you see from history, the entire history is actually revolutionized by individuals, not groups. You name them, they're all revolutionized by individuals. We don't require n number of good people, hundreds of good people. If at all from 100, if at all we are able to get one person, that is sufficient. So as a teacher or as a person in the society, if I am able to basically inspire one person in my life, he is sufficient in order to basically mold, shape thousands of people in his vicinity or during his scope of life. That is how it is. In fact, God, as a matter of fact, is interested to basically partner with us. So we cannot depend on God, but God is actually dependent on us, as a matter of fact. It's not that he is incapable of depending on us. If at all we are dependent on us, we are expecting him to basically produce some miracles. But as a matter of fact, if at all everybody is expecting miracles, who will actually do the work today at my home?
True.
So hence, God is actually dependent on us. So how is God dependent on us? Very simple. The logic is very simple. The Almighty is dependent on only one thing. Whether Ravikant's child is good enough for him to be chosen as my monk for that particular society. So I need to basically build enough capabilities. I need to basically build enough attitudes. I need to basically build enough values, which are basically good for the individual, good for the society. If I'm making the container good enough, God is ready to pour the right elixir in that particular container. I am only responsible to prepare the container.
Okay.
And
Makes
God
sense,
will basically
yes.
pour the elixir. He will do what he is supposed to do with that particular person. Whether anybody is ready like that is what he is actually looking for. ఎవరైనా ఉన్నారా అలాగా? మంచిగా ఉన్నారా? మంచిగా ఉన్నారు అనేసి అంటే I will basically choose him and make good things to the society, good things to the life. That is the reason if you see some people all of a sudden nowhere they are actually coming out and they are doing wonders. We are only seeing the result side of it, but we have not seen how they are actually, what is the struggle they have undergone inside them in order to shape their container for the God to basically instill the confidence and necessary abilities, skills to make him the right person to save the society or to save the country or to save the people.
True. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so where are we?
Sir,
Sir.
we'll take break.
Yes, sir. Okay. So
By 11:45, you take break 15 minutes, and again we'll start by 12 o'clock.
sure, sir. Sure, sir. Definitely, sir.
Okay, sir.
Sure.
Right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So the time is 11:40 now, and another 5 minutes we'll complete one more case, and then we'll take a break. By 12 o'clock, we'll assemble once again. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Who was David Reamer, also sadly known as John Joan? This is a very good case. David Reamer was born an identical twin boy in 1965. At the age of 8 months, David and his brother each had a minor medical problem involving his penis, and a doctor decided to treat the problem with circumcision. The doctor botched the circumcision on David using an inappropriate method and accidentally burning off virtually all of the David's penis. At the advice of psychologist John Money at Johns Hopkins University, David's parents agreed to have him sex reassigned and made into a girl via surgical, hormonal and psychological treatments. Via the system, Money advocated for intersex children. For many years, John Money claimed that David turned out to be a real girl with a female gender identity. Money used this case to bolster his approach to intersex, the approach that is still used throughout much of the years in developed world, one that relies on the assumption that gender identity is all about nurture, not nature, and that gender assignment is the key to treating all children with atypical. Dr. Money and the Boy with No Penis, an experiment on nature versus nurture, goes tragically wrong. Yeah. This is an important case. This case actually tries to delve into the topic of nurture and nature, which is again an important concept in lifespan psychology. What do you mean by nature? Nature means already the inherent tendencies because of genetics, which are actually influencing our everyday life, personality. Nurture is the environment that influences our personality. P is equal to F of P is equal to personality is a function of environment. Okay, so is environment the reason for the personality development, or is the genetics the reason for the what is this called as the personality development? There is always a debate, but the solution is there. The conclusion was that both nature as well as nurture plays an important role in order to for the development to take place in an individual. Here in this particular case, because of some inappropriate medical intervention to the child lost his organ. So then the psychologist, came to an understanding that if at all he can basically be cured, it can only be cured through psychology. So he instilled the confidence in the parents that from now onwards, the environment plays a crucial role. So he need not basically be worried about it. So we can basically tell him or rear him or make him grow as a girl. So the hormones were actually changed, and then he was uh, conditioned or cajoled or manipulated to grow as a girl child. But over a period of time, what used to happen was there was a constant, what is this called as, force on him to make him believe that he is a girl. conditioned his brain or conditioned his mind to assume himself as a girl. So the unfortunate situation was that at the age of 38 years, he committed suicide. His wife left him and he has committed suicide. Now it brings out an important point for all of us to understand the fact that when we say nurture, which plays an important role in the development of a personality, did we understand nurture in detail or not? What, according to me, is nurture? Is my knowledge about nurture means that I need to basically put away the truth and say that I'm possibly giving you the important environment for you to grow without making him understand the truth. ఒక ట్రూత్ని ఒక పర్సన్లో మనం హైడ్ చేసి ఒక పర్సనాలిటీని మనమేమో గ్రూమ్ చేసి పర్సనాలిటీని మనం డెవలప్ చేసి ఆ పర్సనాలిటీని సక్సెస్ చేయించగలుగుతామా? ఇది చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్. అందుగురించి మీరు ఒకసారి అబ్జర్వ్ చేశారు అనేసి అంటే దిస్ కేస్ ఈస్ వెరీ వెరీ రిలవెంట్ టు నవడే చిల్డ్రన్ బికాస్ చాలా మటుకు పేరెంట్స్లోని ద కేసెస్ దట్ ఐ హ్యావ్ రిసీవ్డ్ డ్యూరింగ్ మై కౌన్సిలింగ్ సెషన్స్ దట్ చాలా మంది పేరెంట్స్లోని some of them are single parent childs, so some are separated, some are naturally separated, some are by accident they are separated and all that. And there are a lot of issues that are happening. ఒకవేళ కానీ పేరెంట్స్ ఇద్దరు కలిసి ఇంట్లో ఉంటున్నా కూడాను there are a lot of issues that are happening between parents, and unfortunately they are not being discussed. So ఎందువల్ల డిస్కస్ చేయట్లేదు అనేసి అంటే there is an argument that if at all I discuss all these things with my child, so he may not be able to focus on his or her studies, and hence he may get disturbed or his career be disturbed. But there are few things that are very very personal to an individual. ఇప్పుడు ఫ్యామిలీలోని జరిగే ఇన్సిడెంట్స్ని మనమేమో పిల్లలకి చెప్పకపోవచ్చు అనేసి అంటే దేర్ మైట్ బి ఎ వెరీ గుడ్ రీజన్, because the child right now is in study age, so there is no need for him to get distracted with the family challenges. Whereas if at all something is more personal to that particular individual, and if at all he or she is not known about it, and if we are trying to artificially create an environment around that particular child and then rearing the child or nurturing the child, at some point of time probably he will basically understand that there is something indifferent about himself. And when there is a conflict that is contrasting to what is actually seen outside, then how will somebody at the Harvard University or Stanford University, a great psychologist, can basically uplift the spirits of the individual and make him understand that I am very sorry, it has happened in the past, I did not inform you, but we are all there for you, the society is a great place for living, there are plenty of opportunities for you. So do you think that the people will be ready in order to take the particular shock which has been put as a secret for many years? So is it because that the individual is not capable of understanding about his limitations? Are you making a conclusion to yourself that the individual is no more worth in order to know about it? So ilantivani kudanu they're all matters for us, or for all of us to basically delve deep inside, because ఈ లైఫ్ స్పాన్ సైకాలజీలోని మనకి వచ్చే ప్రతి కాన్సెప్ట్ కూడాను ఇట్ హ్యాస్ టు బి రిఫ్లెక్టెడ్ ఇన్ అవర్ పర్సనల్ లైఫ్స్. చైల్డ్హుడ్లోని లెట్స్ టేక్ అన్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, వెన్ ఏ చైల్డ్ ఈజ్ యాక్చువల్లీ క్రయింగ్, క్రై చేసిన వెంటనే మదర్ ఆర్ పేరెంట్ విల్ బేసిక్లీ గో టు ద చైల్డ్ అండ్ దెర్ ఈస్ సంథింగ్ కాల్డ్ అస్ ఫీడింగ్ ప్రాసెస్ దట్ విల్ హ్యాపెన్. So when the child is actually fed with sufficient food, then the child will basically stop its cry. So cry ఆపేరు అనేసంటే దానికి కారణం ఏమైంది చైల్డ్కి అనేసంటే, when at the start of the cry till he or she gets fed by a bottle of milk, okay, what is the gap? ఆ గ్యాప్ ప్రకారంగా ఒకవేళ మనం చూసుకుంటే, ఒకవేళ ఎక్కువ గ్యాప్ ఉన్నది అనేసంటే బై ద టైమ్ హీ క్రైడ్ అండ్ బై ద టైమ్ హీ గాట్ ఎ రెస్పాన్స్, దెన్ ఆ గ్యాప్ వల్ల ఏంటవుతుంది అంటే ద చైల్డ్ ఈజ్ అన్కాన్షియస్లీ బిల్డింగ్ ఎ స్కీమా What is he bringing inside, or what is he designing himself, that I have tried enough, but nobody is actually coming to my rescue. I have tried enough. Nobody is bothered. So ట్రస్ట్ మిస్ట్రస్ట్ ఇష్యూస్ అనేవి ఆ టైంలోనే జరిగే అవకాశాలు ఎక్కువగా ఉంటాయి. దే ఆర్ ఆల్ అన్కాన్షియస్. మెజారిటీ ఆఫ్ ద లెర్నింగ్ ఈజ్ అన్కాన్షియస్. సో ఈ అన్కాన్షియస్ లెర్నింగ్ వల్ల పీపుల్ ఆర్ యాక్చువల్లీ ట్రైంగ్ టు ఇంబైబ్ వాట్ ఈస్ యాక్చువల్లీ బీయింగ్ సీన్ అరౌండ్ దెమ్. సో ఒకవేళ చైల్డ్ క్రై అయిన వెంటనే పీపుల్ ఆర్ ఏబుల్ టు బేసికలీ ఫీడ్ ద పర్టికులర్ చైల్డ్ in the right time. When I'm saying right time, it is not quickly, abruptly, but at the right time. Then the child will basically develop trust. అలాగే ఏంటవుతుంది అనేసి అంటే, యాజ్ ద చైల్డ్ ఈజ్ యాక్చువల్లీ ప్రోగ్రెసింగ్ ఇన్ హిస్ లైఫ్ through his age, through his mental maturity or and physical maturity, what kind of interactions that play a crucial role in maturing the child's physical personality and that have a profound impact on the psychological personality should also basically be understood. So it will be helpful. సో ఈ కేసెస్ అన్నీ కూడాను మీకు ఎక్కడ మీకు బాగా అర్థమవుతుందంటే, మీరు కాన్సెప్ట్స్ చదువుతున్న సందర్భంలోని ఈ కేసెస్ని కానీ మీరు రిఫ్లెక్ట్ చేసుకోగలిగితే, ఇట్ బికమ్స్ ఈజీ ఫర్ యూ టు అండర్స్టాండ్ దట్ పర్టికులర్ కాన్సెప్ట్. If you read the concept just like that, you may not be able to basically relate it to the outside experiences. For example, Erik Erikson తీసుకోండి, లేకపోతే సిగ్మండ్ ఫ్రాయిడ్ తీసుకోండి, సో ఆర్ పియాజెట్ తీసుకోండి. సో వెన్ యూర్ రీడింగ్ దేర్ psychological theories, if you read it by itself, you may not be able to understand. But if I'm showcasing you at least 4 to 5 cases, try to relate in what way Sigmund Freud's impact is on Phineas Gage. So what is the impact of Sigmund Freud on Kitty Genovese? What is the impact of ఎరిక్ ఎరిక్సన్ ఆన్ కిట్టి జినోవిస్? సో ఇలా మీరు ఒకసారి కేసెస్ని మీరు చదివి ఆ తర్వాత ఒకవేళ కానీ మీరు కాన్సెప్ట్లోకి వెళ్తే ఇట్ బికమ్స్ ఈజీ ఫర్ యూ టు అండర్స్టాండ్. ఓకే, సో లెట్ మీ గో టు ద నెక్స్ట్ స్లైడ్. See, some in the previous slide, the child's essential organ, sensitive organ, was has to be removed because of wrong treatment, inappropriate medication. But here, if at all you see, majority of you would be knowing about him. So Nick Van Schick, his name is Nick. So he's actually born like this. When he's born like this, what can we try to basically bluff to him? So when he's born like this, how did he become a celebrity? When he's born like this, how did he achieve that particular status, which a person with all the faculties is unable to basically achieve? In a confidence gani, in a life fulfillment gani, టోటల్ ఫిజికల్ బాడీలో అన్ని ఎలిమెంట్స్ ఉన్న వాళ్ళు కూడా అచీవ్ చేయలేని పరిస్థితి. బట్ వెదర్ హీ హ్యాస్ బేసికలీ బీన్ సక్సెస్ఫుల్ బికాస్ వాట్ హీ హ్యాస్ అగ్రీడ్ టు హిమ్సెల్ఫ్. You see, what did he say? You see, I'm a bully's dream, no doubt about it. No arms, no legs, no defense. I never would have survived without the steady support of my family. I grew up in a loving home where I was accepted, encouraged, and thought I was beautiful just the way God made me. In the refugee of my home, I practically forgot that I had no arms or legs, but school was a different story. I grew up in a loving home where I was accepted, encouraged, and taught that I was beautiful just the way God made me. This is very important. Out in the world, other kids would point out my differences, laugh at me, and call me names. Those mean gestures tore away at my self-worth, and at all 8 years old, I began thinking about ending my life. At age 10, I attempted it. The only thing that prevented me from drowning myself in the bathtub that day was the thought of the pain and grief my parents would go through. Please underline this particular sentence. The day was the thought of the pain and grief my parents would go through. Now, if somebody is actually having some problems which they are facing, so what is that we are supposed to address? Should we need to address the problem, or should we need to basically address the consequence of the problem? So how do we need to address this particular, how do we need to address the problem in such a way that the other person understands the consequences, and then he'll be motivated in order to challenge the problem and take the problem to a logical conclusion. Here in this particular case called as Nick, the thought that he has actually developed made him survive. If at all he did not get the thought, what happens? So it is essential that people with whom we are actually interacting directly or indirectly, we have to create some kind of impact in such a way that they remember us, they remember our words, they remember our perspectives, they remember our thought processes, they remember our life lessons, they remember our rational and creative dialogues, so that they will have an opportunity for them to basically think in the way they are supposed to think. ఇక్కడ నిక్కుకేమో తన మటు తనకు ఆలోచన వచ్చింది కాబట్టి బతికాడు. ఒకవేళ ఆ ఆలోచన రాకపోతే చచ్చిపోతాడు. అంటే ఏ ఏ సమాజంలో ఇన్ దిస్ పర్టిక్యులర్ సొసైటీ హూఎవర్ ఆర్ నాట్ బేసికలీ గెటింగ్ దట్ పర్టిక్యులర్ రేషనల్ థింకింగ్ షుడ్ డై. Those who are getting rational thinking, they will basically live, survive. So a rational thinking is actually dependent on the individual. If at all it is not dependent on the individual, he is supposed to die. If at all he is actually dependent on himself, he will survive. If people do not have rational thoughts, so they have to commit suicides. Yeah, so society will be more vulnerable if at all they are not having good thoughts. So everybody has to commit suicide. ఇలాగా సొసైటీ అనేది బిల్డ్ చేయాలి మనం. సో ద గోల్ ఏంటి అంటే వెదర్ ద స్టూడెంట్ ఆర్ ద చైల్డ్ ఆర్ ద పీపుల్ అరౌండ్ అస్, వెదర్ దే ఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు హ్యావ్ ద రిక్వైర్డ్ మైండ్ సెట్ టు హ్యావ్ ఎ హెల్దీ లివింగ్ అనేది మనం పక్కన పెడితే, టు వాట్ ఎక్స్టెంట్ ఐఎమ్ ట్రైంగ్ టు ఇంపాక్ట్ ఇన్ ద మైండ్ ఆఫ్ ద ఇండివిజువల్ ఆర్ ఇండివిజువల్స్ అరౌండ్ మీ, సో దట్ దే హ్యావ్ the right set of cues or directions for them to basically live their life to their fullest. Because we cannot assume that the student is going to learn everything by himself or herself, because we understood the fact that the society is so vulnerable to different aspects of people's selfish preferences. So andavalla enti and it is essential that we try to nurture our own people for their psychological well-being, physical well-being, as well as their well-being in relation to others' well-being. Atla. Understood? 4 minutes to go. 2 more slides. Some of you would be knowing this lady, Arunima Sinha. You would be knowing? Sure? Anybody is aware? Yes or no?
Sir, unable to see the slides.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. Can you see now?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. So here I was discussing about this. Okay. And Arunima Sinha, how many of you are aware of this lady? Telsa Miku? Telsa Telida?
Just heard, sir, not in
Okay.
detail.
Very quickly, 30 seconds. Arunima Sinha, she was working somewhere. She used to go by train to her workplace. But one day, a group of people, they were teasing, manhandled her, and then she was thrown out of the moving train. Okay, and she fell on the other side of the tracks. So on the track, she felt unconscious. There were a lot of trains that passed by on the legs of Arunima Sinha. And next day, when she was lying on the tracks, there were few railway men who were walking by, and they saw this lady completely in a desperate situation. She was unconscious. So she was taken to hospital, and um, She was not given anesthesia, and her leg was actually cut while she is very, very conscious, and you can estimate how much of pain she has suffered. So there were a lot of rumors about her that she did not take ticket and hence she jumped out of the moving train, or she eloped with her girlfriend and hence she has committed suicide. So there were a lot of rumors. You pretty well know when any news happens, people want to create a news, but they do not want to understand whether the news is genuine or not. So later, Arunima Sinha felt that it is essential for her to raise her voice loud and to make a mark in the history. So she did not get disappointed, distracted. She said, "I need to climb the Mount Everest." So Bachindra Pai was her inspiration. So she contacted Bachindra Pai and she said, "I need to climb the Mount Everest." She said, "Okay, fine. You have already climbed the Mount Everest. Mentally, now you have to physically announce the date to the entire world." So she got trained. And then she went to that particular Mount Everest. She climbed the Mount Everest, and she is the first woman amputee to climb the Mount Everest. And after that, she got a lot of Padma awards also. So that is her history. So this indicates that what happens in his or her life, and how a person can think by himself or herself can shape the next year's life proceedings. The last the case is about Manji, the mountain man. He's he's a rock cutter, and then his wife brought his wife used to bring lunch box to him. One day, when she was bringing lunch box to him, she fell from the hill and she died. How did she die? She succumbed to injuries, and then she's supposed to basically go to the nearest hospital, but unfortunately, the hospital is to the other side of the mountain. By the time she was taken to the hospital, the doctor said that she was brought dead. If at all she was brought in time, probably her life would have been saved. So Manji felt that the mistake is by the mountain and nobody else. If the mountain was not so big, so then we would have reached to the destination very soon. So what did he do? He has decided that I have to cut the mountain into two pieces, so that nobody else will basically have that kind of challenge or loss. So he has cut the mountain into two pieces all by himself. He worked for almost 40 years and he cut the mountain into two pieces. So you see how much a person can basically think, how much a person can basically act, and how many people can be inspired by by how they think and how they act. So life may basically give a lot of challenges to us, but it is essential that how we reflect on the challenges, and if we are unable to reflect, what kind of support systems that are there around us for us to basically get going and let go all the ills that are affecting our mind. So with this, we will stop for some time and then we'll come back and then we'll enter into the basic concepts that are there in lifespan psychology. I will not be dealing all the concepts, but whatever concepts I discuss, see that you are relating with the cases so that it becomes easy for you to understand the concepts. Okay, we'll join back again by 12:15. Okay, 12:20. Shall we join? 12:20. Is it okay? Yeah. Please go ahead, Andy. Thank you very much for your patient listening. Sir, can I log in once again after log off?
You can, sir. If
Okay,
you're
thank you. Thank you, sir.
okay.
Jagdish, sir,
Sir, yes, I'm
you're
here.
working, you're working somewhere?
No, I'm retired, sir. I
Hmm.
was I was working in a company called GlaxoSmithKline, which
Okay.
makes very popular products like Horlicks,
Hmm.
Boost, Mother Horlicks, Fruit Salt.
Okay.
I retired there from as a head of Indian subcontinent in operations,
Great.
sitting in Gurgaon in the corporate office.
Great.
And then subsequently, I joined Mother Dairy Delhi as a
Okay.
chief of operation for all India.
Okay.
And then on an invitation basis, I was working as a CEO of Prakasha Milk Producers Company, Ongole.
Great. Great, sir. Good.
Now I'm at Vizag after 39 years of service. So I'm
Yeah.
sitting at Vizag.
So I'm also based at Vizag, sir.
Sorry?
I'm also based at Vizag only.
Yeah, I know Geetam, yes. Yeah, I'm basically a chemical engineer, but
Okay.
somehow I did one masters in philosophy from IGNOU. Last year I completed that. So
Okay.
now this is my second PG. Somehow it
Oh,
fascinates me.
yes. Yeah. So can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So shall we start?
Yeah, I'm okay. I don't know about others, sir.
Yes, can we start?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay, with these few examples, it is essential that we enter into some important concepts. So, as said in the beginning, it's very difficult to cover the entire syllabus, but we can have a glimpse of important concepts in lifespan psychology and how that can be related to our life living and people around us. So, I mentioned to you, sir, that personality has been understood by various researchers, starting from Sigmund Freud, who mentioned the fact that personality is determined by what has happened in the childhood. So, whatever is happening in the future, or whatever the child is actually facing, um, is only because of his childhood experiences. Whereas Erikson mentioned, even though he's actually from the same age era of Sigmund Freud, he slightly deviated or moved away from Sigmund Freud's perspective. And Erik Erikson mentioned that it is not just the genetic factors or childhood experiences, but to what extent the social factors will have a bearing on child's personality. So Erik Erikson's theory of development plays an important role, and it is quite relevant nowadays also. So according to Erik Erikson, he mentioned few stages of the age range, and he also mentioned what is the challenge for each and every stage, and whether that particular challenge, if at all it is addressed effectively, then what is going to be the positive consequence? If at all the challenge is not addressed properly or effectively, what will be the consequence? So it is mentioned in this particular tabular form. So it's easy to read. So wherever there is something that needs to be understood very well, I will explain to you. So from birth to 18 months, the main challenge is trust versus mistrust. I mentioned very clearly in my previous session before break that if a child is crying and if the support mechanism at the home is made readily available, then the child may develop trust. about his or her environment. But if the child is left to crying without any support, then the chances that the child may develop mistrust in the environment. So, as a child is actually starting her age from 0 to 18 months, uh, how much or what kind of mechanism we are creating in the environment for us to basically facilitate the natural growth of the child at the home is very, very crucial. So, the child develops a feeling of trust in his or her caregivers. So, from 18 months to 3 years, autonomy versus shame, doubt. The child learns what he or she can and cannot control and develops a sense of free will. Here, Erickson is actually focusing more on the toilet training. We see in our personal lives or in our relatives' lives when small kids poop or when they urinate, there are two different kinds of reactions from the parents. Some of them will immediately go over there and then quickly resolve the problem because it should not create a wrong impression on the onlookers or the bystanders. So they immediately quickly resolve the problem. But they might be addressing the problem, but they are not trying to train uh, uh, the child as to what has happened, what needs to be done. So they're trying to solve the problem, but the child is clueless about why mother or father or a relative is doing what she is doing. So sometimes we also see that there is a punishment towards a child that he or she has urinated um, uh, where she is not supposed to urinate. So immediately there might be a resistance from the child over a period of time, if at all such kind of negative reinforcements are actually applied on the child because of the urination. So autonomy versus shame or doubt is only possible when the child is made to be aware of her genitals and uh, how the child can express freely through her genitals at what time intervals. So, if that proper toilet training is actually given to the child, then the child will develop autonomy. The autonomy will basically have an impact on the decision making, the creativity, the logical thinking of the individuals. But if the child is not made to basically believe in herself or made to basically undergo the toilet training, so the child will basically stop or what is this called as become introvert, or she will basically hold the toilet because she believes that if at all she urinates, then there is a punishment. If she doesn't urinate, there is no problem. So if you see the pattern of thinking that if she is releasing something, there is a punishment. If she is not releasing, there is no punishment. So you see the after effect in the lives of the individuals. Let's take an example: the classrooms. Ordinary teacher generally faces this particular problem. When a question is asked in the classroom, the student does not react. So the student does not react because if she reacts or he reacts, then there are chances that other people may make fun of him or her. But there are also chances that the child in his or her family environment is not basically exposed or let go the feelings of what is this called as autonomy versus shame or doubt. So if there is free expression of the child at home, then the advantage is reflected in the classroom. So, hence, the childhood experiences have a bearing, and how the people around the child have an important role to play in order to make the child grow in a healthy environment is what has been advocated by Eric Erickson's framework for development. So, 3 to 6 years, it is initiative versus guilt. The child learns to be independent by exploring, manipulating, and taking action. This is very important. Um, Sir, I think you were mentioning about it previously about why some people in the society are actually behaving the way they are doing, whether they can be changed, modified, and all that. So, if we can reflect, if a psychologist is actually looking into this particular problem per se, then this might be a cause. So, initiative versus guilt. So, taking
Mm.
action. So there are two people over here. One is the person who is actually trying to do some undesirable things. Second is a person who is unable to take an action. So every time we cannot basically ask the government to take an action when we as an individual fails to basically respond to take an action.
To
So
situations.
both the sides, it is actually the fault is there. So it is only because of what has been exposed to us, what has been facilitated to us between 3 to 6 years. That is what Eric Erickson was actually mentioning between initiative versus guilt. So if the child is independently working or exploring, and if somebody is actually trying to support to find a solution, then the child is unable to develop creativity or logical thinking because somebody else is helping. When I say helping, I mean to say facilitating. So
Facility.
the parent or the people around the child has to facilitate. When I say facilitate, if the child is in a problem to solve that particular act or play, then the parent has to basically ask some questions or set some kind of conditions and see that the child is actually understanding the conditions and able to try to solve the particular problem by herself or himself. So the role of the parent can be more of a facilitator in bringing out the thought of solving the problem in the child at that particular age will have a profound impact on the child in the latter years of his or her personality development. 6 to 12 years, it is industry versus inferiority. The child learns to do things well or correctly according to standards set by others, particularly in school. If she is not able to do it, then the disadvantage is that the child will suffer with inferiority complex. Identity versus role confusion. The adolescent develops a well-defined and positive sense of self in relationship of others. Here, I'll mention the importance of the adolescent period because I am dealing with adolescent students, and enough of interaction that has happened between me and then adolescent students. During this particular adolescent stage, between 12 years, late 12 years to late 19 years, uh, every student wants to appear himself or herself as a learned person. So he or she feels that they have the capabilities to take decisions by themselves. The reason is they have this something called they have developed something called as egocentrism. Egocentrism is a situation where an individual feels that I'm supposed to do everything for myself, for the good of me, and I know how to take care of me. So this is the state of mind they are into. So unless otherwise they are exposed to people in life, they may not be able to come out from that egocentrism to a healthy ego in an individual. Unfortunately, all these students are actually living in the same jurisdiction, or they're a peer group, working, studying, playing in the same ecosystem. So if the student is not exposed outside this particular ecosystem, then the student will only develop the capabilities per se to the capacities of the individuals who are in and around her. So if we don't bring the student beyond the maturity of the cohort, beyond the maturity of the people around the student, then and challenges are that she will only or he will only see the world from the point of view of how he is associated with the group. So she cannot think beyond the group. She cannot think outside the box. So she will only think to the extent of the intelligence of the group. So unfortunately, students are not gaining exposure, or they are not moving out from their comfort zones in order to understand the world uh, as it is. So intimacy versus isolation. The person develops the ability to give and receive love and to make long-term commitments. So if he is unable to do it, if he is unable to basically have the kind of affection, love among the family members, so there is a chance that he or she may basically develop the feelings of isolation. So there is a difference between aloneness and loneliness. So I want to be alone is a good sign, but I am feeling lonely is something which is undesirable. So I am feeling lonely is something where an individual is uh, experiencing insecurity because of lack of intimacy with people, or unfortunately lack of intimacy during his childhood age. So 40 to 65 years, generativity versus stagnation. The person develops interest in guiding the development of the next generation, often by becoming a parent. So this is very important. The child, the person feels that yes, I have done enough of it. So I am supposed to basically guide the people around me so that they can do much better things from where I have stopped. So last one is ego integrity versus despair. So if a child is able to pass through all these stages in the most desirable way, then the personality will have that integrity, will have the harmony. Whereas if the child is not growing in the stages in a healthy manner, then the personality is more destined towards despair, in the sense that after age 65 till death, the person is lost in himself. He or she does not find a purpose of living. Uh, he feels that I do not contribute anything to anybody, so I have done everything by myself, but now I am unable to see my relationship with others. So there is no sense of accomplishment at that point of time, because whatever he has done it for his own use. So these are the challenges that a person faces in dichotomy to their age. So that's how it is. So here I will leave it to the audience, to the learners here, whether you have any things to discuss or you have any doubts to express. Because after this, we'll be going at a faster pace of understanding few more important concepts. Yeah. Any
Sir,
doubts
may
or
I?
please, sir.
May,
Please go
sir,
ahead.
sir, it happens. People again a bit a bit of little difference in maybe associated with that, but little difference is people in a life they succeeds very well. They are brilliant surgeons, brilliant professors, or brilliant social workers. However, in some part of the time, they do the very, very, very weak or silly mistakes. When a person's mental faculties are so pronounced and he's so well versed with all the integrated knowledge of the human, why that small thing comes up in their life, which almost uh, proves to be disaster for the entire rest of his life. It
So you
happens with
will, yeah.
many of the great surgeons or the great professors or great social workers, and they ruin their life. What is that? Why person with such a intellectual potentials, capabilities, or faculties does does this happen? I mean, your thoughts, sir.
Okay, so you're asking my thoughts. I'll explain to you my thoughts, not psychology, what the psychology book says, but I'll explain to you my thoughts. The answer is very simple from my perspective. If I want to rephrase what you said, there are very good achievers in their lives, but because
True.
of some silly decision making, whatever they have built as an empire, everything will basically fall down. And may I know the reason for it? So, if this is what I heard it rightly, then as per my knowledge, it is either overestimating ourselves or underestimating others.
Hmm.
So, if I overestimate myself and underestimate others, these things will definitely happen in life. Let's take an example. I'll just simply give you an example of bike riding or car riding. I may be CEO of a company. As long as I'm sitting in that posh car, which is Volkswagen, okay, I believe that I am a CEO of a company, and then I have to rush back to my office very soon, or I have to rush back to my home very soon. So in the process of actually going back either to office or home, I know that I'm basically in a very well designed car. So when I am in the car in the driver's seat, I feel that the way I am driving is right.
Oh,
So we do not know how other people react on the road. So people react in different ways. So now whether it is a right way of reaction, wrong way of reaction, we do not know. So as far as my knowledge goes, when I am driving the seat, I feel that I am right. So as long as an individual is sitting in his particular life and seeing the entire world, these things will generally happen because he is caged in his environment. And hence, the chances are that, certain events in life or incidents in life will basically appear to be a disaster for all the onlookers, but it is a grounding principle for that particular individual that yes, I'm sorry, I have overestimated myself. Now I realize that it is wrong. For example, Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs created this particular Apple, and then he was uh, sent out by their own company people. So he was on the roads. So his own company, whatever company he has built, and whoever people he has recruited, they only said that please get out because you are no more relevant to Apple. So when he came out from that particular company, he has a thought. He realized that okay, fine, whatever they said might also be right. That I am no more relevant because I have grown by age, and this Apple to be going to the next particular level, requires a better ideas, better thought process than Apple. Than Steve Jobs. So he went out and then he renovated himself, he reanalyzed himself, he started from scratch, he started Pixar once again. And when Apple thought that this Pixar is going to eat away the shares of Apple, then they realized that okay, we have to bring back Steve Jobs again to our company. So there are chances that, as you have rightly mentioned, people may be good with respect to their own intelligent faculties. That intelligent faculties can be at different dimensions. It can be spiritual dimension. It can be what is office dimension. It can be cultural dimensions. Many dimensions. But because they overestimate themselves and underestimate others, they succumb to some errors, wherein the result will also be so, what is this called as,
Disastrous.
disastrous. So I
Sir,
think that is
adding
a grounding principle for them to realize where they were wrong. So this is what my thought process.
Sir, adding to what you said about the Steve Jobs, what puzzles me is the Ramlingaraju of Satyam. He made the empire and he passed on all the money to
Mhm.
Mitas and ruined himself and the society. And generally, what happens is maybe a treasurer of a company or the finance minister or general manager he swindles the money, but here the owner has made such a mistake and he ruined himself. So that how come a person who built an empire which is well known, well versed, and people still feel that whatever he has done socially or for the IT professionals is remarkable, but
Uh,
he ruined himself for. I
yeah.
mean, I'm just adding to the what you said about the Steve Jobs. Yeah.
No, what you mentioned is correct, sir. Whatever disasters we are actually seeing, they are all not overnight disasters. Over a period of time, they have snowballed into a disaster. So, what is the starting point of the disaster should also be, re-engineered. We should basically go back to the time when he did one small error, and then the error has become a habit, and it has all the errors have become a pooled
Hmm.
errors, and it has snowballed into a big disaster. So, it is not just one day's thing; it is over a period of time. So what people like you and me are seeing only the outcome that a great man called Ramalingaraju did this and so the entire empire has fallen. So what led to these particular disasters is something that we have to see. So what was the weakest point? So that is the reason there is a good proverb also. The strength of a chain lies on the strength of the weakest link, it seems.
Hmm.
So
True.
what is that weak moment where he has succumbed to himself to compromise in that particular situation, and that led to a habit, and then all these things have happened. So that is the reason in our day-to-day life also, if at all we think back to what things are happening in our personal lives also, we will immediately go back and say to ourselves that I wish I could not have done that. Probably it has started from there. Why is that I have taken a decision like that? Maybe because of some influence. So I wish I should not have done that. So it will start to that particular place. So that is the reason the rational thinking is very, very essential. You
True,
getting
sir.
my point? Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks. Thanks.
Sir,
Yeah. Please.
sir, in the developmental stages, in 18 months to 3 years,
Hmm.
they have mentioned develops a sense of free will. Sir, can you explain what is this sense
Yeah.
of free will?
Identity versus this one.
Sir, 18 months to 3 years. No,
Okay. Sorry. Autonomy 18 months to 3 years.
yes, sir.
Autonomy versus shame, doubt. The child learns what he or she can and cannot control and develops a sense of free will. So, what does it mean?
Free
I
will.
think,
Huh.
yeah, free will, don't see it as a technical word. So, I'll just tell you there is a person called as Arthur Schopenhauer also.
Yes.
He has actually coined that word called as the free will. So, I stop the screen.
Sir, actually, some mail you are presenting, not the slides.
Okay, stop share. Okay. So during that particular 3 months to 18 months, okay, so the focus is more on toilet training
Yes.
as per the
Eric,
perspectives
Eric.
of Eric Erikson.
Yes.
So he has used the particular used the particular toilet training as an example in order to explain to us what will have an impact over a period of time. So let's take an example. A child, if at all we see from his or her point of view, so has some energy to release.
Hmm.
Okay. So has an energy to contain also. There are two things: energy to contain and energy to release. So people will be free when they release it.
Yes.
People will be very difficult to contain it. There are
Yes.
few things it is in our psychological aspects also. It's very difficult to contain than to release. So let's take an example. I contain lot of conflicts in myself and I don't vent it outside. So it is a burdensome thing to me. So there should be a ear to hear also. So I need to be in a position to what is this called as let go all my feelings to somebody also. Vent
Hmm.
out my feelings to somebody also. So from this toilet training point of view, if the child is actually trying to contain the energy and if he or she is not allowed or given scope to let go that particular energy outside, then the student will become the child over a period of time will become stingy.
Okay.
So he is not expressing himself well. So he is not expressing it because the fact is that when he has experienced it a couple of times, there were negative reinforcements.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So, because of that negative reinforcement or a punishment, then the chances that if at all he releases that, then again there will be a punishment to him.
Punishment.
So, in order to avoid that particular punishment, he is actually going for that containment mode, which is again not a principle, pleasure principle for him.
Yes.
So in order to avoid, a pain,
Punishment.
he
Hmm.
is basically accepting the suffering. If you take this particular concept now in teenagers' lives,
Hmm. Hmm.
okay, so people are actually committing suicides. Take
Hmm.
this toilet training. So to avoid punishment, for example, a student has failed in IIT JEE examinations. So in order to avoid punishment, what is that punishment? Punishment is to basically the faculty will basically uh, the faculty may basically yell at the student or the parents will
Parents.
basically feel bad about the so so this is what he wants to avoid.
Okay.
If he fails in that particular examination he may not basically get promoted to the next level. So because he cannot go to the next level, that is a punishment for him because he failed. Okay, now so what is he trying to contain? He is containing his feelings in himself only. So if he is containing all the feelings in himself, at one point of time it has to basically implode.
Implode.
There is an implosion. So the free will has to basically been should be administered to the child in order for them to basically have control on themselves. అందు గురించి ఏం చేయాలి అనేసరంటే టాయిలెట్ వస్తున్నది అనేసరంటే వాళ్ళు ఏదో ఒక ఇషారా సమ్ సిగ్నల్ హ్యాస్ టు బి habituated to the child so that the child will raise their hands. Let's take an example. So immediately the child has to be taken to the what is this called as
Okay.
the bathroom,
What?
and the child is supposed to be allowed to freely express.
Release. Yes.
So in some body language they do it. Now here there is also a psychology which can be said or not said. When the children are actually undergoing that particular urinating process, it is essential that the child is actually trained to basically have control in the urinating process as well. So he cannot just open up the way in order to just urinate the entire thing in a flow, but to have that particular regulation to vent out the urine in stop gap things, so that at this particular exercise, if at all it is habituated in the individual, will have a profound impact on when to control the emotions, when to let out the emotions. Because as we say, emotions is basically energy in motion, nothing else. So emotions are expressed, the energy is expressed in different ways. One
Ways.
is through emotions, the other is through physical ways. So when to let out our emotions, when to let out our energies, and how do we basically, to what extent, to what capacity, to what levels, at what time we can basically restrict our emotions and then carry out our energies. All these things can are basically concentrated in that particular toilet training. So nobody knows this particular, insight that toilet training has a profound impact on
Impact
later
on.
part of emotions regulations or energies regulations. So this is the thing. Yeah. Okay. So we'll go very quickly. Okay. From here, let's quickly go. I will pass on this slides quickly because they're all self-explanatory. Some of the domains in human development: physical. What is the scope of physical development in an individual? Height, weight, and all that. You can understand it very easily. And what is its impact on the human development? That is how you have to see the relationship with all these physical components on the human development or on the personality. So what does cognitive domain contains and how does it impacts the human development? Language development, thinking, learning and understanding, memory abilities, moral reasoning, practical intelligence, wisdom. So all these things collectively will have an impact or bearing on cognitive development or the thought process. Psychosocial
Sir,
development, both the
sorry,
physical.
sir,
Yeah.
slight about the language development, sir. Just small illustrations, how really that happens. Maybe
So
very
generally,
short.
yeah, very short. So generally, what happens is when the child is in the early stages of his or her life, it makes sounds. So the sounds will basically give an indication of the first part of speech development in an individual. So, and if that particular sounds are actually what is this called as um, made into words, words into phrases, phrases into sentences. Okay, so then there is a periodic enhancement of the sound to become a meaningful language.
Hmm.
So if that particular process is obstructed any given point of time, and if at all the student is concentrated only in making sounds and not in the later development of the language, then the student will be fixated in that particular stage itself and he will not basically progress to the next stage of language development. So it starts with the sound and then mama, baba, the two words, after the three words. So, and then he is going to try to relate two different words to one particular situation, and whether it is going to be successful or not successful. All these things are becoming part of his learning that particular language in order to bring out a meaning of what he is actually thinking in himself. So what kind of support mechanism is induced to him, given a facilitator to him to see that that particular language development is actually progressing in the way it is supposed to progress, and what kind of facility as a parent or as a caregiver we are trying to do to make the language development as a natural process of learning.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So this is the cognitive domain, psychosocial domain, the aspects of the bodily composition, bodily aspects, bodily elements, in tandem with the social aspects, which become psychosocial, which have a bearing on the human development. So we have emotions, and how do we control our emotions? It is called as emotional intelligence, um, personality, self-esteem, relationship, all that. Now, one course or many courses, this is an issue. Whether human development is one course or does it have many courses? So one course says that development is essentially the same for all. Development is universal, stage theories and all that. Whereas the other side of the researcher says the development follows a different course for each child, depending on the child's specific genetics, environment and culture. Let's take an example. There are people who are actually suffering with autism also. Unfortunately, their cognitive abilities or language development did not basically grow to the age where it is supposed to grow. So when all people are actually growing and the child is remains in his particular area because of lack of language skills, then what kind of support mechanism we have given for the child in order to develop his own innate abilities, or the language would have not developed, but what are the other abilities we can facilitate the child to develop in herself or herself, so that the child can basically be a child prodigy? Because I have seen lot of live cases where a student, where a child who is suffering with autism is a very good, what is this called as, chess player. So there are live examples wherein you type in YouTube autistic child playing chess. You will find lot of examples like that, and you can easily identify what is the challenge that the child is undergoing at the face. But he or she is very good with respect to the play. So when a child has a difficulty with respect to his growth aspects in the personality, the physical growth aspects in the personality, what are the psychological or cognitive developments that can be balanced to support the hindrance that is happening through psychological deformities or psychological disadvantages? So how do we balance these cognitive abilities? How do we basically reinforce the environment to suit the individual, to ensure that the child is actually progressing in his life with the challenge that he or she is having? Let the challenge be carried throughout his life. The most important aspect is whether the child is also able to bring out latent talents in himself or herself to proceed in his life in a what is this called as healthy way or not. So nature versus nurture, this debate is still going on, and people have accepted the idea that both biology and genetics as well as environment have a bearing on the human development. And what are the basic periods of human development? All this is quantified. So how we have to see is between 2 to 5 or 6. How did the childhood go for the child, and what kind of care was actually given to the child between 5 to 6, so that the child has matured during that particular 2 to 5 or 6 years. So for each and every stage, we have to understand whether necessary support has been given for the child to basically mature or graduate to that particular age. So a question for you: the dash of human development involves one's feelings, relationships, identity, and personality. Is it physical domain, cognitive domain, psychosocial domain, or lifespan domain? One's feelings, relationships, identity, and personality. So go back to this. One's feelings.
Psychosocial.
Very good. Perfect. Perfect. Psychosocial. Which period of development involves developing independence and feeling like an adult? Is it adolescence? Is it early adulthood? Is it middle adulthood, late adulthood? Which period of development
Adolescence.
involves, no, just check it. Which period of development involves developing independence and feeling like an adult? Developing independence and feeling like an adult. Developing independence and feeling like an adult. So it is early adulthood, late teens, 20s, and 30s. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So here is a researcher psychologist about a perspective towards the lifespan. So lifespan development and lifespan perspective. So he mentioned that the biological, cognitive, and psychosocial changes and constancies that occur throughout the entire course of life. So they're all self-explanatory. So he mentioned about key principles of lifespan development. Development is a lifelong thing. Development is the multidimensional. Development is multi-directional. Development is plastic. Development is contextual. Development is multidisciplinary. Multidisciplinary means if in order to understand the personality of an individual, we are taking some information from sociology, from anthropology, from sciences, from life sciences. So it is multidisciplinary. We cannot understand a personality only from the point of view of the biology only, but we are supposed to also consider other dimensions such as the society, because the society is a place where the child is actually part of. The society has an impact on the child. The child has an impact on the society. So sociology plays an important role in the lifespan development also. So multidimensional, so multidirectional. So all these things are explained. What I'll do is I'll give this particular PPT to all of you because it's very easy for you to understand from the description that has been written here. Few important things that I would like to touch upon. I'll bring that to you. So this is multidisciplinary: psychologists, sociologists, neuroscientists, anthropologists, educators, economists. Okay, so I'll bring out another one. Can you see this? Can you see the slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now let us enter into this psychodynamic theories, which are very important from the point of view of examination also. Let's closely observe few of the theories that will have an impact on our personal lives also. Three early scholars, John Locke, Jean Jacques Rousseau, and Charles Darwin, they mentioned about uh, how a personality is and what kind of changes that will take place over a period of time. So John Locke, famous scholar, he mentioned that the child's brain is like a blank slate. It is called as tabula rasa, on which knowledge is written through experience and learning. So he said that it is not just the genetics which play an important role, but it is actually left for the child to develop because of the dynamics that will take place between the child and the environment. So Rousseau proposed that development occurs according to innate processes and progresses through three stages: infancy, childhood, and adolescence. So what are the experiences the child had during infancy, experiences during childhood, experiences in adolescence will have an impact on the lifespan development of the individual. And Charles Darwin is very famous for his theory called as survival of the fittest. So he always believes in the fact that unless otherwise we have the innate capabilities and strength to adapt to the situation, we may not be able to basically go along in our life. So these three scholars have created an impact. And after that, we have the famous Sigmund Freud, who dominated the field of psychiatry with his thought breaking philosophies towards personality development. So he mentioned the fact that the early life is an important ingredient for later life development. So he suggested a few things about how we can solve some of the problems that a child has faced in his childhood. Uh, okay, so this is what you have to understand if we have to understand Sigmund Freud in detail. So you see this particular diagram, graphic representation. So Sigmund Freud mentioned that every personality has three important components, and the dynamics that happen between these three important components play an important role in determining the person's personality to his surroundings, to his own self, and throughout his life as well. So he mentioned, he described these three important elements as id, ego, and superego. Um, at the start of my session, I mentioned to you about a person called as Eric Berne, who brought out an important concept called as transactional analysis, where he mentioned about parental ego state, child ego state, and adult ego state. So, in fact, Eric Berne has actually brought or he has actually borrowed important concept from Sigmund Freud only. So, whatever his theory is, transaction analysis, the basis of transaction analysis is basically brought from Sigmund Freud's theory of personality. So if we have to define what it is very simple. It is actually driven by the instincts in an individual, which is only waiting for some immediate gratification and works on pleasure principle. So it doesn't want pain, it avoids pain, the personality avoids pain, and it wants to be in the most comfortable position. So the superego, on the contrary, is like a police. What it does is the superego will try to inform the personality that what is to be done right, what should be done, what should not be done. So the morals, the values, the ethics are actually taught by the superego to the personality. So between id, forces and superego restrictions, the personality may be what is this called as moving to the extremes. If the id is strong, then the individual is actually carried forward by instincts. So he may be very aggressive, or he may be doing an activities uh, which lacks control. Whereas a superego on the other side may also try to pull the personality in the ways for an individual to be more conscious about what he is supposed to do, what he is not supposed to do. But in the process of doing so, he might be not allowing himself to do certain basic aspect which he is supposed to do. So in what way the personality has to be balanced between id and superego? So ego is a realistic principle which tries to balance between id feelings and superego feelings. So ego tells the personality that under these circumstances you do this, under these circumstances you don't do this. So ego balances the personality in going to the extremes. So that is what Freud's theory of personality is. A strong ego to balance the id and superego is a healthy personality. So, unfortunately, most of us um, heard about ego as something which we should not have, but that is at a different level. So, when we say ego that we should not have, we are referring to the selfishness, the egocentrism that people should not basically own, because by the end of the day we are all there for others sake. So paropakaram idam sariram. So whatever we do, we are supposed to do good for others. So ego is actually restricting, the egocentrism generally restrict an individual to take care of himself or herself. So according to Freud's theory of personality, the ego that he has actually mentioned is something that balances the superego feelings as well as its feelings. So he says that the development of an individual depends on different stages. One is the oral stage, anal stage, phallic stage, latency stage, and general stage. The erogenous zones are there for the individual to experience the sensitive zones. And if he or she is unable to basically experience it in the way he or she is supposed is desired to exist in experience in a healthy way, then the child will basically grow in a healthy way, or otherwise the child may be fixated to that particular stage itself, and he may not be able to basically go along in his life to a healthy living. అంటే ఇక్కడ ఏంటి అంటే ఇక్కడ చూడండి లాస్ట్ కాలమ్ ఈజ్ అడల్ట్ ఫిక్సేషన్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్. Let's take an example, the oral stage. If the child is not feeded uh, through her mother um, uh, to the right time, till the right time, only till the right time, and if the child gets exceeding advantage of feeding more than that particular age, then the child will get fixated to something that is related to oral aspects. So he may be over talking or smoking, overeating, anything more to do with that oral things he gets fixated, because during the time of 0 to 1 years, uh, he was not restricted of oral feeding from 0 to 1 years. Either he might be deprived or he might have been given excessive oral care, oral feeding above 1 year also. So the child may tend to undergo these kind of issues at a later period of time. So that's how it is. And every person, when things go wrong, generally tries to defend himself. And Sigmund Freud mentioned that these are the different ways an individual tends to defend himself or balances his ego through any of these approaches. So either through denial, displacement, projection, rationalization, to sublimation. So if you are free and if you want to basically have an understanding about these concepts through a hands-on experience, you have to identify and share examples of defense mechanism you observe being used in everyday life. These examples could come from TV shows, movies, or your own experience. If your child did not do something well, what is the defense mechanism that he demonstrates in front of you, and what is the defense mechanism that you can reflect from the child that he has shared to you from the principles that Sigmund Freud has actually given? You see, Eric Erickson, he mentioned that, to contrast to Sigmund Freud, individual's personality develops throughout the lifespan. It is not basically arrested only till childhood. So over the lifespan, this development can take place. That is what Erickson has mentioned. And I think we discussed about this in our previous slides also. What happens between birth to 12 months, from 1 to 3 years, 3 to 6 years, and after that. So at each and every stage, if proper facilitation is not provided, either the child will basically develop the component of trust or the component of mistrust, or autonomy or shame, or initiative or guilt, industry or inferiority, identity versus role confusion, intimacy, stagnation, repetitive display. Now, behavioral perspective is something that uh, we should also acknowledge. So, one of the person who has given the behavioralistic perspective is Ivan Pavlov. He came out with a great experiment called as classical conditioning. You pretty well know this particular example. So, let's take an example. We have. Are you aware of this classical conditioning example?
No, sir, not really.
Okay, fine. Very quickly, I will tell you. According to Pavlov, the the behavior of an individual can be controlled by different ways. So he came out with a very good experiment. If I tell you the experiment, then you will easily understand how behaviors are actually controlled in organizations or in everyday life. So let's take an example. We have a dog and we have a food also. So it is natural for the dog to salivate when it sees the food. It is quite natural. So that is the reason the saliva, the food is not conditioned, or the response is also not conditioned. They're all quite natural. They sync with each other. Nobody is actually imposing the dog to salivate. Okay. So here the stage is okay. Here to this extent it is okay. But if at all we try to pair the food with a bell, and if the dog perceives the food and the bell to be in composition or to be in relation, next time when the bell is kept rung, the dog salivates. So no more the food is the reason for the dog to salivate, whereas the bell is sufficient enough for the dog to salivate, because the bell has been conditioned through the food, and hence the bell has now become the conditioned stimulus for the dog to salivate. So now how is that we are trying to basically see that in our everyday life? We are doing this every time with our children, or we are doing this, we are seeing this in organizations also. If somebody is expecting a promotion, if somebody wants a promotion, he will be doing certain things in order to get a promotion. So in our everyday home also, the child is made to do certain things in order to get some kind of SOPs or incentives at home. So that is how this classical conditioning works generally. And there is another person called as Batson. He came out with operant conditioning. So he says that if at all we have to basically control the behavior, then we have to basically control the consequences. So if we can manipulate the consequences, then we can control the behavior. So what is that particular consequence? The consequence can be positive reinforcement or negative reinforcement or punishment. So through punishment, we can basically control the behaviors. Through negative reinforcement, we can control behaviors. Through positive reinforcements also, we can control the behaviors. It's very easy to understand. Just check with this experiment given by Skinner through his Skinner box in the experiment. In this experiment, what happens is the mouse is actually placed in a box, and there is a liver. Okay, so the rat does not know the liver is the reason for it to get some food. So because there is a liver and there are other gadgets also, the rat moves here and there, and then it will accidentally press the liver. When it accidentally press the liver, there is a dispenser through which the rat is able to basically get some food. So the rat has realized through conditioning that until I press the lever, I may not be able to get the food. So what is the insight over here? So in order to get something, I need to do something. That is how the behavior is controlled.
Sir, I have one point here.
Yeah, please.
Sir, shall I?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Sir, again, what we have learned in the industry in last 40 years is there is something, the innate knowledge. Person has some innate knowledge, and that innate knowledge ultimately gives to the beliefs and thoughts. And thoughts and beliefs makes the behavior, and the behavior ultimately gives the results. The way, and all the psychological theories are also, but here the Skinner's theory of operate, it is little, it says first the behavior, and which changes your beliefs and thoughts. Is my understanding is right, sir?
So these are two different things.
Right.
So we are actually, if at all we see the Pavlov and Skinner, They have worked with these particular concepts maybe 70 to 80 years back,
Okay.
and they are no more basically what is this called applicable in the current situations.
Okay.
I'll just give you a small example of it. When when in your age, if at all you have to study something, you do not have what is this called as books. You do not have the resource people also to guide you. So you had enough of efforts to put day in and day out in order to study those, and then through merit you are able to get into. But nowadays, all the students have all the facilities in front of them.
Information.
At a click of a
Yes.
mouse button, they get everything. But yet they are unable to basically enter into that particular mode of learning. So, what do we need to attribute here? What theories can
Behavior.
we attribute over here? See, let's take an example. If I have to attribute what is this called a Skinner theory to the present young generation, throughout the year they do not study. They will only study during the last stages, last days of their before 1 week of their examinations or 1 day of their examination. The reason is throughout the year they do not have a motivation to study, because if I study right now also, immediately there is no reward or recognition for me. The student will go to the school or college today and they will come back, and he will keep those what is this called as books separately, and he will venture into his own play games with his friends everywhere, because there is no condition applied to him by the school or the college that tomorrow there is an exam. If the element of exam is there inside him, then definitely he will study. If there is no element of exam is there, he will not study.
True.
So the entire year went by because there is no condition applied to him. The condition applied to him during the last stages, wherein he is supposed to prepare for the examination. Hence, he is actually studying for the examination. If he does not study for the examination, he will fail. So punishment is there. So now Skinner is actually working over here.
Yes. True.
But whereas there are a lot of other people who are self-starters, they don't rely on the exam last days of preparation. They have their own self-discipline. They have their own inner tendencies for them to basically manage their own study table. They don't worry about examination. Examination is another, study time for them. So they are successful. So what is the difference between these people and these people? So what is my inner motive? What are my values? What are my prepositions? What are my attitudes? Where is my value system based? So what kind of reinforcements are acting on my value systems? For example, if I'm a serious student in the at my home, for example, I'm a studious student. For example, my daughter, when she comes back from college, she goes back to her room and she studies. And if I stop her studying and say that no, life is there for you, you enjoy outside, so there is a conflict. My daughter wants to study, she's planning for her studies, and parent is saying that you enjoy your life. Why is that you want to study?
The conflict.
Now there is a conflict. So now when should the parent has to interfere for the child to basically come out from her study mode? If the child is excessively studying and she is not able to basically reflect the nature around her, or she is unable to relate people around her, it is a time when the parent has to say, fine, just leave it for half an hour. Let us go outside. Let us have a cool breeze. Let us go to our aunt's place. Let us come back. So if that kind of facility is not provided at home, and if the child is left to her own decision making, the child will be what is this called fixated in his or her own ideologies.
Ideology, values, and all that.
Yes, that's it. The
Yes.
child will not basically understand whether her ideology is correct or wrong.
She believes that values.
She
She
believes her
believes.
value is correct.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
So maybe the philosophy of the innate knowledge, insights, beliefs, thoughts, behaviors, and results is a one class of studies which is equally right or wrong, right, like the other Skinner's theory, where the behaviors molds the thoughts and thoughts and the beliefs. Am
Uh,
I
Yeah.
Am I
One.
right, sir,
Yeah.
saying so?
One is the punishment side. Let's take one is the
Acha, okay.
behaviorism. One is the behaviorism. That means on one side we are saying that unless otherwise a student feels that there is a punishment over there or a reward over there, a person will not basically go for that particular activity. I have a reward, hence I am going for it. I have a punishment, I am going for it. Okay. Now, beyond this reward and punishment, is anybody thinking beyond this reward and punishment and going for it?
That
So
is
now that is possible in when we try to understand the family structure or family environment. At home, if at all, the people at home are basically involved only in the outcomes of it and consequences, outcomes and consequences. The child will, the effect will also have the bearing on the child's development also. The child will also see from the point of view of outcome or punishment. At the home, if at all, we are discussing about what we can do by our initiation, by our free will, not from the point of view of reward, not from the point of view of recognition, but for the sake of doing duty, for the sake of doing it. Then the
sir,
child will slowly develop that.
yeah. Sir, Skinner's theory is still we consider as very relevant in today's world.
Yes, yes,
Is
yes.
very
Today,
relevant.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You see, sir, nowadays the youth are actually doing it because somebody is saying if you don't do this, you will be punished.
So then they do it. Then they do
They
it
do
like
it.
okay.
Then they will do it. Somebody else is doing because there is a recognition. That is the reason they are doing it.
They run
For
for it.
example, majority of the students are joining engineering education because there is an employment opportunity, IT jobs. Because there is an IT job, people are joining engineering. If there is no IT job, will people join engineering? So the conditioned stimulus is the IT job. The conditioned response is the engineering education. Is there any unconditioned stimulus and unconditioned response? That happened during our days, wherein I do not know what job I am going to get, but I am going
But
to
I'll
study
study.
hard.
Yes,
I'll
absolutely.
study hard. So there is no
Absolutely.
unconditioned stimulus, there is no unconditioned response. So now, because I am basically open to new ideas during my education, it has taken me to an ideal destination, or it has taken me to a destination where I have failed. So there is an experience in me. That experience is going to be a life lesson for me to educate to masses.
Got it, sir.
Got it,
Thank
sir?
you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah,
Thanks, sir.
yeah. So social learning theory. So Albert Bandura says that whatever we are going to learn, we learn it predominantly from the environment around us. So that is what he mentioned. So through role models and all that, observational learning and all that. Jean Piaget, I mentioned to you that he focused more on cognitive development. All these things they're easy to remember. There are no issues at all. I'll just discuss about one more concept and then we can close it for today. Carl Rogers and the good life. He said a good life is something which comprises of these elements. When a fully functioning person continually aims to fulfill their potential and demonstrate the following traits: openness to experience, existential lifestyle, living each moment fully, trusting one's own judgment, freedom of choice, high levels of creativity, reliability, and constructiveness. All these things are outcomes of an individual. So it is hindsight to say that we have to be like this, but what kind of environment we are grown in order to gain these kind of insights in us, so that we have developed each of these to enjoy all these. See, Maslow hierarchy is also an important. Abraham Maslow, he said the person's personality depends on fulfillment of each and every stage of his need. So it is also called as need hierarchy theory also. So he said that there are needs to an individual. One is physiological needs, safety needs, okay, social needs, and esteem needs and self-actualization needs. So Maslow says that unless otherwise we complete the physiological needs, then we may not be able to go to the next level of need called as safety need. Once we complete this, then we will go to the third level. Once we complete the third level, we'll go to fourth to fifth. Okay, he also said, Maslow also said that once a person completes this physiological need, then this physiological need will not become a motivation anymore. So let's take an example. Once we have food, once we have water, once we have all other things, then it will no more become a motivation for us to basically have it. So we have graduated, we have matured that particular stage. We are not feeling motivated to that. So we will go to the next level. So the next level is security of body, of employment, of resources, of morality, of the family, of health and property. Once we have achieved that stage will no more be a motivation. We are going to the next level. The next level, once again, will not be a motivator once we have achieved next level, next level. The last level is self-actualization. Self-actualization is a stage one person truly understands his unknown stage. In Johari window, Johari window is Johari window is a wonderful concept to understand our interpersonal relations. So in Johari window, they mentioned about four quadrants of an individual's life. One is known, unknown, blind, hidden, unknown aspects. So the unknown aspect is a potential area in each and every individual. If we are able to understand our potential through different experiences and exposures, then the creativity will develop, and then we'll be achieving something which is beyond the layman's thinking. So self-actualization. So according to Abraham Maslow, the examples for self-actualization are: a painter has to paint, a singer has to sing, a dancer has to dance. So it is very easy to accept the fact that a singer will definitely sing, a dancer will definitely dance. But how will a person recognizes? How will a child recognizes the fact that he or she has that innate singing tendency, innate dancing tendency, innate painting skills? So how long it has taken time for the child in order to discover the latent talents in himself or herself? What kind of support mechanism the child has got to be nurtured into those particular areas, and how the child has brought out those particular ideas of innate skills. So that is only possible if at all we are able to basically, if we are able to think beyond our limitations, go beyond our comfort, more beyond of our comfort zones, gain experiences, gather exposure, know from experts, people, and all those people to travels and all that. Only then we'll be in a position to basically actualize ourselves. So like that, we have Yogotsky socio-cultural theory. So, so like that, there are a lot of theories that one can read through from the textbooks and understand them in relationship with our life experiences. In that way, probably we will understand the concept very well. So in this particular session from 10:15 till 1:30, we just had a glimpse of what lifespan psychology is all about. Uh, and then there are a lot of things that needs to be learned by all of us, including the speaker. The speaker is also naive. He also does not have much knowledge. He is also trying to learn in everyday life, interacting with people, understanding the life experiences, and gaining exposure wherever it is required. And through all life experiences only, we are trying to understand life in principle. So I think let us call it a day. So I am open to your questions. You can take my details from RC Vijayawada, Regional Center Vijayawada. They will definitely share my email address. You can share, you can send me your queries, your doubts with respect to examination, or if you have a concept that needs to be clarified. I don't mind in basically talking to your phone and explaining you the concept, but that is only possible during evening times after 8 p.m. or during weekends from 10 to evening 5. So I'm open to some kind of doubts clarification also, free of cost, no charge.
Thank you very much, sir. So
Yeah,
nice of
yeah,
you.
yeah,
Nice of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So we'll
Thank you,
end
sir.
it for today. So tomorrow, I think we have personality theory. We will see how we can understand the personality theory in Indian soul. Okay, so I don't know to what extent you have understood what I discussed. So it is not complete, it is not in total. We just try to introduce and understand the concepts in general. My request to you is don't see whatever has been discussed as an authority, but always go back to your subjects, textbooks, reference books. There is much more better ideas that are conveyed than through this particular channel. So refer to those textbooks, understand through videos the concepts very well. So they might definitely prove you very handy for you. Okay.
Sir, will there be any other session on the lifespan psychology, or this is the
No,
only one?
this is the
Yeah.
only one. This is the
Okay.
only one. I can basically help you out if at all you have any queries through email.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you
madam.
very much.
Yeah,
So nice of you
yeah.
for your
Thank you.
time. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Prasad
Okay, sir,
Babu.
we will wind up.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you so much, Andy.
Right,
Thank you.
sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Amma.